So if you create a package by the same name, then or a project automatically gives you the same package, it should work. So an easy way is just to copy and paste the complete project. Okay, this is how you do it. I'm not sure because I do quite a bit of copying. Maybe I know better. So you create a new project. Come on. Okay, so go with the new project. Call it trouble ticketing system. Then you will save yourself some time. Call it trouble ticketing system. Of course, one word because we can't. But I'll place it on your section. So today's Thursday. Okay. So if you call it trouble ticketing system, you're kind of okay. You won't have to change much. And just copy those files directly into here. So just copy them. Do a Control V. And you're good to go. And as I said, they will have some errors. The exception files won't have them, but the others will, which is okay. So I'll start with the exception files and then we'll go from there. Right? So create one trouble ticketing system. Automatically, it will have the same package statement. And then just copy my files. They already have the required, I think they have, yeah, they have the required statement. Okay, so let's look at them one by one. In this particular, okay, so let's talk about what it is before I start even explaining it. So this, I'm trying today to create a system to handle tickets, right? So for example, if you work in an environment, you've been at customer service or whatever, I'll give you an example that kind of made me take up this example is this. Whenever we have some problem with our computer, for example, we call the IT department or we send them an email and say, this is what is the trouble, right? So a ticket is created for us, and that ticket will have the date it was created on, our name, our email, what is the issue, and they'll create a ticket, and then after that, give us a ticket number, a reference number, and after that, all communication is through that reference number. So as we are communicating or they're trying to find a solution or somebody comes to my office and checks, it could be any kind of issue, or somebody could be coming, logging into my system offline and trying to fix, they kind of keep putting this in their issue. Okay, this is done on this date, this was done on this date. When it is resolved, when we have a solution, then they close the ticket because it's done and finished. So they close the ticket and you'll see that I get an email from them saying, this was the issue, this is what went on, and now this is the solution, and the ticket is now closed, right? So that's what I'm trying to create here. So I'm trying to create a ticketing system that will create tickets, and then of course, what do you do with tickets? You should be able to update the ticket, right? Because you are putting information into it. You should be able to close the ticket. You should be able to find the ticket, because if somebody emails and says, this is my reference number, what is happening? Kind of, they should be able to pull it up and say, this is what the status is right now. So this is what you do with the ticketing system. You create a ticket. You should be updating the information in the ticket. You can count how many tickets are still open. Manager comes and says, how many tickets are open? How many did you close on this day? Or whatever. Like all these are just, again, inquiring information from the ticketing system. So that's my ticketing system. So, but now it is a collection of tickets. So I need a ticket class, right? So the trouble ticket class or the ticket class, whatever I've called it, I think I've called it trouble ticket class, is the class in which I'm kind of defining my ticket. So now when it comes to defining a ticket, what are the attributes that you can think of for a ticket? Who created it? Name. The email of the person. Date on which it was created. What else? The issue.
Reference ID or something.
Reference ID the ticket system will give back me the reference ID. When a ticket attributes won't have it, but it will have a ticket ID that will come back. Yes, but I won't give it, I won't initialize it, but it will come back. But so that's a reference number, an ID. What else? Closed on date, resolution, right? So these are some attributes that go with the ticket as soon as you say, because somebody creates a ticket, right? To communicate with that somebody, we usually pass on an email. There has to be some way of communication. I've taken it to be email, right? Definitely every ticket has an issue. Also, I've added something called severity. How urgent is it? So I've given 3 values, 1, 2, 3. You could do anything. I've just given an example, but every ticket has a severity. So when I was creating the ticket class, I kind of said, oh, this is what we do when we put in a request. So that's what came to my mind. So we give them our name. We of course have a valid ID, the issue, whatever it is, right? Of course, they will create a ticket for me, so they automatically create a date of what it was created on, but it is an attribute of the ticket class. The date it was closed, the resolution of the ticket, and the issue, the description, what is happening. And any changes, I'll add it to the description itself. Though I could have created another field saying something else like communication or intermediate, but I just added it to the same field. I just said, let it go into the issue, because they just keep adding it to the issue. So the issue is still there, and their part-time resolutions are also there. And then comes the resolution. Okay, so that's the aim today. So to create a ticket, and again in ticket, I'm going to maybe introduce you to a few new things today. One, I'm going to introduce you to a local date time class that was introduced in 1.8, a couple of years old now. But with that class, you can create objects in which you can save dates and times. So that will be helpful one, right? And I'll use a couple of methods of it to extract the date from your system. Because created on, I don't want to say it was created on, I want to say pick up the date from of course that date is wrong, then the whole thing is wrong, but if your system date is right, then it will automatically save it in that video. Two, I will also introduce you to regular expressions today. I'm just introducing you, I'm just saying introduction, because regular expressions is basically a string against which you match something. For example, let's say if I want to create a regular expression for a phone number. Now all of us know, it depends on where you are, but we know that we have 3 digits of area code, then we have 3 digits, and then we have 4 digits. So that's our total size, 10. All of them can only be digits. So I'll say, okay, the regular, or if you want, you can put round brackets in front, and in the area code can go in round brackets, or you could be also putting dashes in between your area code, whatever. So you decide how you will take the input from the user, and when the input is given, and when you are setting it, you will validate it against this expression. And the expression will say it can start with the bracket, can have 3 digits, will close, bracket will close, there will be a dash, there will be 3 digits, there will be a dash, there will be 4 digits. And that will validate it. So I've done it for email. So writing regular expressions is a whole subject in itself. It's not easy. Like, it's not something that's really easy and I can get it. It takes time. But it's not as if you can understand it. It's not rocket science. So what I did was I picked up, I didn't want to create it myself. Phones are easy. I picked up a regular expression for emails from the web, right? I said, okay, give me a good one. It may not be the best, but it works, right? But I just wanted to show it to you, and how do you match against a regular expression in Java. So I'll introduce you to 2 new classes, the pattern and the matcher. So these 2 new classes, again, just to say how you match. You haven't done any validation of non-numeric data till date. You've done numeric, should be less than 0, greater than 100, not be negative, all this we've done. But we've never validated non-numeric data. Why? Because we say, what's there to validate in a name? There is something to validate in a name. A name can only consist of A to Z, right? Names don't have letters, don't have digits. A name could have a dash. I've seen dashes in name, and a name could have an apostrophe for sure, right? But that's it. So you should be validating non-numeric data also. And how do you validate? You say, how do I validate it? You validate it using a regular expression. That's how you validate non-numeric data. So phone numbers, names, email addresses, these are all validated through regular expression. So I thought I would kind of give you an idea too, so that if you see it, you know what it is. Okay. So these are the new things. Plus, of course, the usual will go on. You should know how to create an array list. You should know how to connect the 2 classes and talk to each other, and so on. Okay. So what I've done is to save ourselves time, because now we are short of time. I've given you code in which I have already put on my comments and methods that are easy, getters and so on, right? And then we will fill up the rest. And that itself will take a bit of time. Also, a little different in this project I've done from a previous project is, instead of creating 1 exception class, I've created 3 exception classes. The advantage, or whatever you would like to say, the clarity. Oh, sorry, I don't have comments here, but that's okay. The advantage here is the message itself it's kind of hard-coded. I'm not passing the message. I'm only passing the name of the field, which is erroneous, which has caused a problem. And then the rest of the message I always do. Why? By putting them in different classes, 1, it's clarity. One is saying email exception. The other one is saying ticket update exception. The other one is saying ticket delete exception. So it makes sense. What kind of exception am I talking about? Right? So it's not a rule that you can only create one exception class, but you could create as many exception classes as you like, give them names that make sense. That's the whole point of it. And I've again extended the exception class, though I could have extended any class. I could have extended any of the subclasses of exception. But I stuck with exception because keep in mind, again, remember, the exception class has two subgroups, one checked and one unchecked. Unchecked means doesn't matter. You don't have to either handle them or throw them further. If they occur, JVM will take care. Like index out of bounds, division by zero, all arithmetic exceptions, null pointer exceptions, they're all unchecked. You've never put them in your code. If you make a mistake, it just comes up. JVM says, oh, this is the problem, this is the problem. So you don't have to do anything about them. But the other set, which is, you can call them checked if you like, the other set has to be handled. And exception, which sits on the head, means both. So why do I make it exception specifically? Because I want you to either throw them or handle them, so that you understand that exceptions have to be dealt with. You should actually be catching all exceptions, even if it is an unchecked one. Because to the user, you don't want to show those red remarks like a stack. Problem occurred here, problem occurred here. To the user, you want to say something like, you cannot divide a number by 0. So you should know how to handle that. So I'm forcing you to pay attention to exceptions, and therefore I don't say extends illegal argument exception, for example. I don't say this. If I do this, the illegal argument exception is an unchecked one. You don't have to even worry about it. You don't have to handle it. You don't have to throw it further. If I did this, then this exception, you won't even think about, because you won't see any compilation errors or anything. You'll say, oh, it's fine. I don't have to throw it or handle it. And who will handle it at the end? JVM will handle it. But what happens with JVM handling is you get all that error messages in your output that make no sense to the common user. That's what I'm avoiding. So illegal argument exception is an unchecked one. So if I extend from that class, then I don't have to worry about it at all. And I'll try to show you in my class. I don't have to do anything with it. But therefore, I force it to extend exception. And in the exception class, they're both groups, checked and unchecked. So I have to handle them. Okay, so that's why I always extend my exception class. So all that is happening from one to the other, is just the message. Just the message is different. Right? Again, keep in mind, extend says what? Extend says this class is inheriting from exception class. So it takes all the methods of the exception class. The constructor is not as per se inherited. You can't use it directly, but you always have to call it using the reserved word super. And it has to be your first statement in your own constructor in that class. It has to be, it's a rule. So that's why I say super. I call the constructor of the parent class, and that's how I call it. That's the only way you can call a constructor. All other methods you can call by name. Whatever is the name of the method, you just call it. But constructor cannot be called by its name. It has to be called by the reserved word super. And it has to be the first statement. The call to a constructor should be the first statement in your code, in your own constructor, in the constructor of the class. Keep that in mind. Okay, so I always have a super call here. If you don't do it, will something happen? What it does, it will by default, Java will put something like this. It will automatically do this. It will call super with no arguments. That's what it does. Like every Java class has a default constructor. So every subclass constructor has that statement already in the code. So even if you don't write it, it's there by default. So it's safe. If you miss it, it just calls the empty constructor of the superclass. You'll say, what if it doesn't have an empty constructor? Then you are in trouble. Then it will say, oh, where is your super call? Then it will say so. But otherwise, it automatically puts it for you. So that has to be present. I don't want to call the empty one. I want to call the one with the string argument. So I call it like this. Okay. So I'm hoping that after this, I can take a break from this kind of work and go on to inheritance and polymorphism. And then if time permits, I'll come back again and do more examples. Okay? Yes.
How is showing this statement to the other main class? Why is it so like this? So it doesn't exist?
Oh, I'll just throw this exception. I'll throw the ticket closed exception like you throw my exception. Like you threw my exception, now I'll throw the ticket closed exception. And I'll pass it the ticket number. I'll pass it the ticket number, and then the ticket number will come here and it will say, sorry, this does not exist, closure cancelled. Same concept. You'll have to call it the same way. But the use here is flexibility and readability. So in custom-made applications, you will usually find exception classes, which have a name that makes sense with it. I could have used illegal argument exception. I could have used it because the argument is illegal, email is illegal, or the ID is illegal. But I try not to, so that I give you a practice in this also. I could use something that is already available. I don't have to create my own exceptions at all. Sometimes you don't find a good one that matches yours. So you say, you know what, I'll create my own because it's not an arithmetic exception. It's not an index out of bounds exception. So I have to give it my own name. So you give it a pretty name. But you could always, instead of using my exception, you can just say throw exception. Nothing, there's no, like, it's valid. You can do it. But that's the whole thing is about creating applications that are robust and complete and exactly give you the right error messages and so on. You don't know what will happen if you say throw illegal argument exception. I don't know what message will come up, but here I exactly know what message will come up. It will say, sorry, this ticket number does not exist, which makes more sense, right? Which makes more sense to the user if he has made a mistake. So it's like trying to close a ticket which is not open. That's when this exception will be thrown. Okay. So what I'll do is just to show it to you, I've kind of changed this for now, you needn't change it, but I'll show you. Instead of extending the exception class, it is extending the illegal argument exception class. And I'll show you what's the difference of extending the two classes. Maybe it will make more sense there. Okay, so these are my three exception classes. There's a tester, there is a trouble ticketing system, and there's another one. Something is wrong with my mouse since yesterday. I have to delete one of them. Okay, so this is the main one. I'll have to delete this one. And this one should be okay. This is the one I've given you, except that I'll have to kind of remove that, the one. It's just not, it's not a renaming, it's just put it there because there were two of the same kind. There it is. Okay, so you will see errors. You will see errors in trouble ticket and you will see problems in trouble ticketing system, which is okay. They're not yet complete yet. Okay, so let's start with the trouble ticket. So in here, so notice I've used the matcher and the pattern. These are two new classes I've used, and I've used another new class called local date time. So you're seeing three new imports here, which you haven't seen. Not a big deal at all. It's just classes. You have to learn to use classes anyway. And again, keep in mind, in the final exam, you may be asked to use a class which you haven't even used at all in the whole semester. It shouldn't stop you. If you know how to use an array list, you should know how to use a hash map. You should know how to use a tree map. They're all collections. You should know how to use an array. So since you are allowed to use the documentation, please expect that I may say use this class, like you did math.round. You hadn't done math with me, but you know what math was, and I said use the math class. So you should be able to use any class from the class library. If I give you a hint, of course, I will say, okay, use this one, so that you know at least which one to use. Okay, so be ready with that. Classes are just classes. There's nothing different about using one class from the other. You have to go to the definition. You have to look at its method. You have to look at its constructor, see how methods are called, whether they are static or not static, whether they need a parameter, more parameters, and what do they return. It's the same everywhere, right? It doesn't matter. Okay, so this trouble ticket is basically defining the characteristics and the methods associated with create, update, and delete a ticket. So I should be able to update and delete. All that will come here. Let's talk about its instance variables. Every ticket has a reference number, which I'm calling ticket number, right? You could have called it reference number. Every ticket has an associated user with it. Who created the ticket? So name. The email of the person who created the ticket. And I'm going to do some regular expression checking on email. You could do it on name also. Maybe you can just do it to kind of, it's an easy one, but maybe you can do it because all it consists of is letters and blank and hyphen and apostrophe, nothing else. I'll do it for email for you. Then comes the issue description. What is the description of the issue? What is the issue, right? Blue screen of death. I don't know, keyboard keys are not working. Something is wrong with my mouse for sure. So I know that it's dancing about not opening files. So something wrong with the keyboard, things like that. That's your issue description. Okay. Plus also, instead of creating a new, and it's usually not done, instead of creating a new field, anything that communicates between me and the mice, whoever is taking care of, will also go in issue description. So I'll keep adding all descriptions to this issue description. So maybe I gave in a request on Monday, Tuesday, he comes back and asks me, are you available on Tuesday at this time? I say I'm available on Wednesday. All that goes into your issue description. They just keep adding it. You can always create a new field and say something like communication, right? And then comes the resolution. So resolution will come. So this was how it was resolved. So I've created that as a separate field. Plus the severity, which is not important, but I just wanted to, again, use an if and throw an exception. So I've created that too. Now you will also notice that instead of throwing exceptions at all, here, local time, date time, the date it was created on and the date it was closed on. So they're not text, they're not strings. Don't use strings for dates because there is a class local date time available for it. Like your date type in MySQL, same concept. So don't make it text, use the right class for it. And again, all you do is, if you have to kind of say, oh, what it is, we can always go and say, show the Java docs for it. And I will, as I always do, I'll open up the Java doc and say, see, here is a class. And it's a final class. For your information, a final class is a class that cannot be extended. It cannot have subclasses. So that's a class you cannot extend from this class. That's why it's a final class. So it's a final class. It extends from object, but you can create children of local date time. Then it implements. We'll talk about implements maybe in a couple of weeks for sure. It's like extending, but a little difference. And then here it's been available since 1.8. It says also, please look at the serialized form. It says this class is immutable and thread safe. Immutable means if you create an object and you try to change the value in that object, what happens is that object is killed, a new object of the same nature is created, and the new value is put in there. That is what is immutable. Your strings are immutable. I don't know if you even know about it. The string class that you use, so if I say string and I say name and I give it a value, say Anju, what happens in memory, Anju is stored somewhere. The string is called name. And this is what happens, right? So a new object name is created. It is a reference box. It has the address where Anju is being saved. Now, if I do this, which looks so natural, you say, okay, take my previous Anju, take whatever is in the name, and concatenate to it Chawla. Now, Jipan, there's nothing wrong. You're changing the contents of string from Anju to Anju Chawla. The change is not done here because it only gave you 4 to start with. It can't put Chawla in it. So what it does is this. It creates a new string, a new position. In there, it puts Anju Chawla and makes it point. These strings, this is called immutability. Strings are immutable. You cannot change them in place. I couldn't change Anju in place, but it put it somewhere else and made the pointer change to that position. This is called immutable, right?
The last one, the Anju.
Sorry, that's lost, it's gone. For you, it doesn't matter. It's still called name, but that object, the garbage collector, will take that space. So therefore, strings are called immutable. And this one, there it says that this local date time is also an immutable object, which means the same thing. You save it in something, and now you want to change it. It will be saved in a new place. This is all going behind the scenes. You're not even aware of it. But for you, now the name has gone from Anju to Anju Chawla. And there it is. It is now pointing to that one. How does it matter to you? It doesn't matter to you at all.
So it will be sending the Anju to the other memory location?
No, it creates a new memory location. It creates a new box, puts Anju Chawla in that, and makes your name point to that box. That's what it does. This is lost. It doesn't matter. It is lost. So strings are immutable in nature. They cannot be changed in place. And that's what this immutable also means with local date time also.
What's the advantage of having a class that you cannot extend from?
What it is saying is you will never need to extend it. It's just local date time. Why would you need to extend it? I am thinking maybe string class could also be a final class.
Okay.
I think so. We can check. I'm not so sure. So some classes, they they feel the need that it should, nobody will ever extend them. So to make sure they're not extended, they make them final. Maybe string is, I'm not so sure, but I'm kind of thinking that it could be possible. Because I've never seen a string class being extended, but I can't say anything because I've never used it, doesn't mean it's not available, right? See, there it is. It cannot be extended. You cannot create a child of the string class. Maybe it could have something to do with immutable objects. I'll have to read a little more about it. I'm just
You wanted to make your own super string with
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so maybe because they're immutable and they behave in a different manner, and it's something to do with memory allocation behind the scenes. I'm thinking that way. Maybe that could be the relation. Yeah, but otherwise you're right. If you wanted to make something like a super string that uses this and add your own method. But yeah, that's what final means. So you can never extend a string class. Anytime you see final with a class name, you cannot use it in extends whatever. That's what it means for your information. You've seen named constants. You've seen final variables last week. Remember, ID was final for your product ID. Now you're seeing final classes also. So I'm thinking it has something to do with that these objects are immutable, and immutable has to do something with memory allocation, and therefore I'm putting 2 and 2 together. I'll have to look. I mean, I never thought about it, that why can't it be extended? What's the reason? Like, why did they make them final? But maybe this connection can put something. I don't know. Like, I'm just guessing. Okay, but that's what immutability means. I mean, the user, the programmer has no clue what's going on, but that's what immutable means. Immutable means these objects cannot be changed in place. Okay. Okay, having said that, so every time you use a new class, just open up its documentation so that you know what is happening. Okay, and you should know how to use it. Okay, I've also created, yeah, that's right. Do you have that 3 there, or do you have a, you know what, I've picked up the wrong class. Do you have that 3 there or a 1 there? I've picked up the wrong classes. I've picked up classes which are already complete. So I'll have to kind of remove stuff and then I'll work with you, okay? This is my solution. Of course, I've already done a solution. So yeah, that's what I've given you. Anyway, I'll remove as we go on. Please make that change. Please make that change. That means you didn't even have this, right? Was that already in your code? Yeah, okay, but you do know what final is, right? You know what final is. Final means once you assign a value to this variable, you cannot change it. And remember, there was another rule. You cannot write a set method for it. There cannot be even a private set method for it. The only way to initialize it is in the constructor. There is the only place where you can use an assignment statement to initialize. So keep that in mind, okay? So now you know, and then there are also final constants. And then we define them like this. We usually make them class constants because their value will never change. And why create one in each object when they will never change? But ticket number is not a static final variable. It's a class, it's an instance variable because every ticket has its own ticket number. So that can be a static variable. Notice the difference. This is static. What does static mean? It belongs to the class. There is only one copy of it. And all the objects use it. But can you do that with a ticket number? No, because every ticket has its own ticket number. So it's an instance variable, but it is final because once you assign it a value, it cannot be changed. So there is a difference between static. Definitely, static means belongs to the class, and instance means belongs to the instance, right? So constants like this, like something like minimum mark, maximum mark, so on, I make them as class constants. But if I want to make an instance variable final, please don't put static with it. All you put is final with it. You're saying this is a never changing attribute of my ticket. Cannot change. Logical. Does your student ID ever change once assigned? No. Same concept. Will a ticket number ever change once assigned? No. Reference numbers don't keep changing. Otherwise, what's the use of reference number? Okay. Okay, let's look at the constructor now. So the constructor is doing the usual. It is initializing the instance variable. So you take a ticket number, you take a user, you take an email, you take the issue, you input the severity, and you kind of, oh, now it's right. Now I have add code. Strange. Okay, now I have add code, so you will add with me. And it has just called the set method, set issue username, set issue description, set severity, update email. Okay, set email would have been, I don't know why I called update email, but notice there is no set method for the ticket number. You have to do the initialization assignment right there in the constructor. You cannot write it. That's how final instance variables work. It's a rule. Don't ask me why. I thought a private set would do, but it didn't. Remember, we did it. It wouldn't work. Now, what about the other attributes? There is an open date it was opened on. There is a close date. You have to give them something, otherwise they will be null. Keep in mind. Okay. And there is a resolution. Resolution is okay. To begin with, there is no resolution. But it has been opened on a certain date. It will be closed. We don't know when. So that can also stay as null. But the open date is required. How do you initialize that open date? I'll give you an easy way of doing it. So take your created on variable, instance variables, and do this with your local date time class. And notice, I'm going to use the now method. Now we'll take it from your system clock. This one will take from a clock. This one will take from a zone. So I'm going to use this one, and it will pick up the date and the time from wherever you're running your code. That's what it does, wherever you're creating the object. As easy as that. I don't have to worry about it. One, it gets the right kind of data, and two, why reinvent the wheel? So just say now. So there were a few methods there. Guys, in Java, they're called methods, not functions. A few of you use the word functions because maybe you're coming from a different language and they were called functions. But these are called methods. In object-oriented language, we call them methods. We don't call, there's no word called function. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind. There it is. So now what about closed on? We have no clue. So that's the default. I'll still write it in my constructor because I like to put everything in my constructor. I know that's the default of an object. We all know that it's an object. Do you think, was it not called closed on? What doesn't it like? Oh, this is what it doesn't like. I put 2 equals to. Do you think I can do this? What is the right hand side? What kind of literal is that? String. What is closed on? Local datetime object. Can do it. I can't. That's a local datetime object. That's not a string object. It is not a string. You cannot assign it an empty. So you can do this. Some of you will say, oh, let's put it empty. And yeah, logically, let's make it empty, but you can do it for the simple reason that it's not a string, right? So therefore, you'll have to give something that is valid, and the valid value for an object which is yet doesn't have anything is null. And again, I am repeating, line number 48 is not required because that is the default value of instance object, a variable that is an object, but I like to do it. I want to. Now with resolution, you have 2 options. You can start with an empty string if you want, because it's a string, or you could go null. Null will mean this object doesn't even exist. But it will be helpful for me when I do my if statements. I can say if closed on is null, the ticket is not yet closed. I can use them. I can check against null value. Remember, you can check against null value. If resolution is null, it's not yet resolved.
So we can't add anything like upfront we want to add something.
You can. It's not an array list, so there's no question of adding something to it. You can give it a value when the time comes. Right? It's a string, but you can assign it a string. But you can't do something like this. Since resolution is a string, there is a difference. If you assign resolution to the empty string, then in future you can do something like this. Hello. So what will it do? It will combine blank and hello and will become hello. But if I go null here, then this will cause a null pointer exception. Now this will cause because if you're saying null, what does it mean? This object doesn't even exist. If it doesn't exist, how can you concatenate hello to it? Here is the difference. You're thinking add because add is a method in the array list, but string is also an object. So that's the difference.
If we want to put hello in there.
Yeah, then you can do it, because remember in strings what happens, you don't have to go new, but assigning it a value is as good as saying new string and put hello into it. Yeah, you can do that. Because by default in a string, because it's so commonly used, by default when you assign a value to a string, it calls the constructor, it automatically does new string and puts hello into it. That's why you can do it. That's why you can do it. Just because of that. Just because that resolution is a string. If it was something else, you would have to say new, create the object, and then assign it a value. Make sense? Okay. So you can do this if you like, and it won't be wrong syntactically. There's nothing wrong. Resolution is empty. There's nothing wrong in it, but I'll keep it null because I'm going to test it in a condition. So both are correct. There's nothing wrong in either. But you can't assign an empty string to closed on for sure. You can do that because it's not a string. Okay, here you have the option. Now my constructor is complete. All my instance variables have values. Even though it's null, it's okay. But I'm satisfied now. Ticket number has a ticket number. Username will have a name. Issue will have some issue. Whatever you pass me, it could be an empty string. I don't care. But whatever it is, severity, email, the created on has been assigned the value of right when I'm creating the ticket. As soon as you go new trouble ticket, created on will get the value in your system clock, right? And then the other two are null. So you have an option. If you want to keep it for yourself, you have an option of assigning it the value of empty string. You can do it. That's possible. There's nothing wrong in it. Okay, but you can do it here. Okay, so that's for keep in mind, not every object can get an empty string. It's a string. Only string object can be assigned an empty string. Okay. Okay, now let's see how to set the username. Nothing big in this. So this method I have already given to you. Set username, take the username and assign. You could have validated it, but I'll do the validation in a tougher one. And you know what? I mean, if you don't know it, I had to Google it. Email was not an easy one because email can have digits, letters, underscore, @ sign only once, right? The dot, the period. So I had to kind of see what is a valid email. I had to look it up. It wasn't easy to make a regular expression, but there are so many available, and I kind of went with the one that I thought I understood and was right. So you have to kind of pick them up. You see, that's another advantage these days. Everything is available online. Like there's so many resources. Believe it or not, 25 years back when I had to create a regular expression for a phone number, it took me 2 days to polish it. Because you're trying things, right? Like you're saying, oh, what can a phone number have? So it takes time. It takes time to create it. Now, if somebody has created it for you, it has been tested, it works, use it. The concept is fine. So as long as you're doing things like this, you're okay. But in your assignment, remember, if you're seeing something, that's fine. But don't kind of copy the code, because if you start copying, it reflects, right? So be careful about these things. There is a fine line between what can I use and what am I copying. They're two different things, okay? So be very careful about these things when you do your assignments, which is logical. You're going and you're writing a game, you're looking up code. I went and looked up email regular expression. I did. Right? But you have to be careful. What are you doing? What are you using? So I didn't take their code or anything. I just took the regular expression, which is okay. There's nothing wrong in it. Okay. So name could have been updated, could have been validated. I didn't bother because it was much easier. Set issue description, take the issue and set it. And here comes the update email. Here, I want you to do stuff with me. I want you to validate it. And notice how it is saying, oh, now let me show you because I changed it. I'm going to remove this for a minute, right? I'm going to remove the throws clause. I put this throws clause because I was extending the exception clause. Therefore, I had to do it. But if now I don't do it, it won't complain at all because now it is extending illegal argument exception, and the illegal argument exception is an unchecked exception. You don't have to bother doing anything with it. Nothing. And I'll show you the change. You will see how it changes. Okay, now here comes some code. I'm going to validate the email using a regular expression, okay? That's how you usually do it. Maybe you've done this in your, what about the PHP course you are doing? In the PHP course, you take input from the user, right? So you validate your input. So you must have done regular expressions.
I don't know if you call it that, but we did validate it.
So how did you validate, for example, an email?
Well, each HTML has built-in email type.
Oh, okay. So you validate it against that. But its concept is the same. It's inbuilt, but that inbuilt is still using regular expressions, right? So if you go and Google regular expressions, there's quite a bit of material, and it is interesting. Like it's been there for quite a bit of time, long back also. Now Java has introduced this matcher and whatever class is in 1 point. I don't know, I can't remember when it was, but at least it's made it easy to match against. Okay, so there is a way to do it, and that way I can never remember. I always have to kind of look at the code. So please bear with me while I do it. But it's just a procedure that needs to be followed. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a regular expression, and a regular expression is a string. It's just a string which is telling you what's valid and what's not valid. You can call it whatever you like. You can call it valid email or valid expression. Just because I'm saying regular expression so many times, that's what came to my head. Right now, what is the expression is this? It's a string, so we'll have to put it in double quotes. Okay, and there are certain symbols I'm using, which I'll try to explain it to you. So it's the caret sign above your number key 6, and caret sign says it can include one of these. Okay, so what can it include? It can include the A to Z letters. It can include the A to small z letters. Remember, for a computer, it's different. So dash is a range. If it was A, B, and C, then you would have written A, B, C. Then you write all the letters, only A, B, C. But now A dash Z means any of the characters from A to Z. So when you put a range, you put a dash. If I only want it, for whatever reason, the email will not have it, the email can only contain a capital A. That's how I would write it. Or it can contain a capital B. This is how I would write it. But if I use a range, I go like this. Okay, so it can have anything from capital A to capital Z, anything from small a to small z. Remember, there are two different things for the computer. Anything, any digits, you can use any digits. Oops, no, it doesn't matter where I put it. I'm just saying it. You can put it wherever. Any digits from 0 to 9, right? And then I had to look it up. I didn't remember all of them. You can use a plus. No, plus says, what was it? I'll have to look up, because each of them has a meaning. Caret sign has a meaning. Plus has a meaning. Dollar sign has a meaning. They all have meaning. So all you have to do is, and now I forget. See how easy it is. So if you search for regular expressions, the whole thing will come up. And I'll limit it to Java because they are different in, I mean, there are some symbols that are different. So pattern, and it is talking about this, but this is a lesson that I kind of went through for looking for regular expressions. I usually go to the Oracle site. I don't know. I just have faith in it, just because it is also the, so here are some predefined character classes. See here. So if you would like to put something, a description, a digit, a non-digit, they kind of give you examples, okay? They give you examples here, so it will kind of help you to understand a few things. So as I said, I had to go through it, but it was easy to use something that was already available, okay? So all these symbols, and there's a whole lesson. I only looked for whatever. See, look at the meaning, for example. Some X with a question, with a one question mark. X once or not at all, 0 or more times, 1 or more times, exactly n number of times, at least n times. So notice how they're also using curly brackets, and this is the plus. So it's saying at least 1 or more times. That's what plus means. So you have to look at what these symbols mean, okay? And then say, oh, that's how I use them. Okay, so this regular expression was copied, but anyway, it works. I know it works. Okay, so the plus, the underscore, the 1 or more times it says. So something is 0 or more and something is 1. And then there is a period for sure. You can, it says you can use a dash. And then you can have an @ symbol. You should have an @ symbol in your email, right? So any of these, A to Z is your first part before the @. You can use any of the letters, any of the digits, underscore 1 or more times, the dot, the period, and the dash. You can use anything this before the @ symbol, okay? After the @ symbol, I had to look this up and I again forget. There was something to do with dot plus. I think 1 or more times. I forget now, but I have to look it up. I will with you. And then there was a dollar sign, and dollar also had a meaning. It's been a while since, not a while, but of course, a couple of weeks since I did this, so I had to look it up. This is a regular expression for email, and I tested it with a few. It did work. Maybe it doesn't work for everything. I don't know, but I tested. So I'm hoping if I can look up the dollar sign in Java. What was the dollar sign? There was something to see. They've given you examples. So A with a question mark says that A occurs 1 or more times, and they're just picking it from here. A plus, where it is A plus, one or more times. Okay, that's how you kind of do it. A plus, or you can use anything. Now dollar sign. What was the meaning of dollar sign? I forget now. We'll find it. I mean, I will find it somehow, but it was somewhere in the lesson, or maybe not even in this lesson, but somewhere. See, here is the question, the square brackets. So it says ABC in any combination will do. BCA, whatever it will do. That's how you interpret it. Okay. Yeah. What does it say? Oh, so just at the end of the input. Okay. So it matches the end of the input. For the line break. Thank you. I thought there was something. Now I couldn't remember what it was. Right. So you have to look it up and kind of work with it. But it's not as if it's, as I said, it's not as if it's rocket science. It just says that you should know what each symbol means and how to use it. So making for a name is much easier, because what do you have in a name? Letters, blank, and apostrophe, and some names have a hyphen. That's it. Regular expressions are a little, for email it was because it had the @ symbol and everything, and I wasn't sure how to do it. I looked it up. Right. So there is your regular expression. Take my word for it, but maybe you can polish it more. I didn't try to. I really didn't. I tested this and it worked, and I said, okay, that's good. Okay. So the @ has to occur, and notice there is nothing in @. It's just @. So the @ symbol can only occur once in your email, is what it is saying. Okay, just once, one character of it. Before that, you can have any of these. And this caret sign also has a meaning. I forget now again. In other language, it's anything but matches. Beginning of the line. Okay. In some, just so that you know, in some it means anything but this. So when you use a caret sign, it's like a not. Okay. So you just have to be careful which one you're using. To me, the caret sign I remembered from, I don't know where I used it. I can't even remember the language first I used it. That was saying anything but this. It was a not symbol. But here it's a beginning.
Well, it says if you put the caret inside the square bracket.
Then that's how it, then it behaves that way. Okay. So I thought it was a not, but here when you put it outside square bracket, it means the beginning. Okay, makes sense. So again, as I said, I've looked it up, and please look up in relation to Java, because meanings could be different. And then just interpret it. So now we know that the caret sign is beginning. Thank you. And the dollar is the end. This is not tough at all. This says any number of A to Z's, A to small z, 0 to 9. I think a plus also has some meaning that we were just seeing. And then the @ only occurs once. And then again, this one is simply saying the plus. I don't know what, I've forgotten. Or a period can occur more than once. Something like I've tested.
Makes sense if that was the case. Not
Plus is just a valid character in an email. Do you think we can put pluses in our email addresses? No. So plus has a special meaning, right?
This matches one
or more characters. Previous things. Okay, so here, previous things. Okay, so that makes sense. Right? And then previous thing. That means you can have as many dots after the @. You should only have one, unless there are addresses which says this dot, this dot, this. I haven't heard of any of them.
Yes.
Have?
You look at Jordan email.
What is it?
.on.ca.
Right. Oh, yes, it has. Okay. So plus says any one or more, or 0 or more? One or more, I think. Does it say 0, one or more? One or more of the previous characters, right? Okay. So makes sense. Because you need one or more of these. You can't have 0 or more, because 0 means nothing will occur. Okay, so it is making sense, right? So plus means one, or as I said, I did it and now I can't even remember it. So plus means of before. Does period have I don't think so. Period doesn't have a special meaning. No, period is okay. Period is okay, I think. And then the dash and the underscores. Yeah, we have underscores and dashes. Dashes are allowed in emails? I don't think so. I haven't seen it. I will double check. Underscore, of course, is. Underscore I've seen. I don't know. Are dashes allowed? Or dash has a special meaning? Look up where you are looking, because you have an easy access. I don't know. But what about, I understand this. You can have as many periods. Oh, this is only occurring once. The others can occur as many number of times before or after. Okay. Does underscore a part of a dash part of an email? Or do they have special meanings also? Do you see something? I have an underscore here. And I have a dash here. I can't remember in email addresses. Definitely it has a dot.
You can definitely have underscores.
We can have email. Okay, what about dashes? I haven't seen. I can, unless dash has a special meaning that means it is valid. You don't see it? That means it is allowed. We can double check when we run. Okay, so there is my regular expression. So as I said, regular expressions is just, they're interesting. I mean, you can handle, you do understand them, but now there are so many resources that you know well. A few years back, 20 years back, there were no resources to kind of look up where am I going wrong kind of stuff. So you tried stuff. Okay, so there is email. Now the string is ready, but now comes the process. How do I match it against email? So there is a process here. Please follow it with me. You have to create an object of the pattern class. You can call it whatever, but I'll kind of, since I won't have to do much with it, I'm going to call it pattern. Very common in Java programmers, they'll call it the same. And it is saying, please compile this string for me so that it can be compared. So it's changing your string. You can kind of think it is changing your string into an object that can be compared now. Okay, so converting like a two-string stuff, converting us from string to some valid. Then it's a capital P here. And then you use the matcher class. And I had to look it up, how to do it, and look for example. And then it says the pattern object needs, there's a matcher method and a matcher class also. It confused me, but that's what it is. And compare it with email. That's the process you do. Okay, that's the process you do. You first create a pattern object. The use of the pattern object is to convert your regular expression from a string to, I think, a Java readable form or something. That's what my interpretation is. And then the matcher is saying, okay, I'm going to use that pattern object against my email, right? So that's also making sense. And now, how do you, so that's matching. Now we want to see if it was valid or not valid. Okay. Okay, so now you put an if. Right? So how do you say if it matches or not? This matcher object that you have created, which is basically matching against the email, it has a matches method. Matches means true or false kind of, okay? Notice true or false, Boolean value is being written. Does it matches? Okay, so if it matches, it's just a method that returns the true false. You say, what are you matching it against? That has already been done here. It is matching against email. Okay, that has already been done there. If it matches, that means it's okay. It's fine, it's valid. What do? You go your email and assign the email. Else you throw an exception, right? But no, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying that's it. I'm not throwing an exception yet. And it isn't complaining. It's not complaining, right? Even if it's not saying anything at all. So even if I do it, it won't say anything. It won't say you have to do it. Else, I don't forget my else's now after I made that silly mistake. I'm going to throw a new, what was it called? Email exception. And just pass it the email. The other message is right there. So I just pass. But is it complaining about anything? No. It doesn't say, oh, you are not handling it or you're not throwing it. Nothing. Because what kind of exception is the email exception? It is an illegal argument exception. And illegal argument exceptions needn't be checked. Who checks it then? JVM. It's not your job. It doesn't force you to check them. And how does JVM check it? You will see all those error messages on the screen. And the user will say, what's going on? So to force that you kind of take care of it and write good messages, what did I do? This is what I do. Instead of extending from the exception class, I extend from the exception, not from an unchecked one, from a checked one. An exception is checked because it has both. It's the highest. As soon as I do this and I go back to my trouble ticket, it will start to complain. See, it's complaining now. What is it complaining? It says unreported exception. Either you must catch it or you must throw it. Now it complains. So what have you done? You have forced yourself as a programmer to either handle it or throw it. And definitely at the end of the day, when you handle it, you will write it in a proper message. And the message will come up on the screen instead of all those red remarks by JV. So therefore, it is a good idea to extend from the exception class so that you don't forget to handle it in the application. Here I won't handle it. A class never handles anything. It says, you gave me something wrong, here is your answer. Email is, something is wrong. I don't know what is wrong. The application will handle it. And what will it do in the handling? Put it in a try-catch block and spit out the message. So how do I take care of it here? All I do is I add the close clause and that error will go away. So this is why I extend it from exception and not from illegal argument or any other unchecked exception. I make it a point always to extend my classes, exception classes from the exception class so that I don't forget this. And it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it at all. Why not, right? Okay, so that's taken care of email. So hopefully this makes sense to you. If you kind of think of it, it's very logical. I have a pattern against which I want to match my email. If everything goes well, I assign it, else I throw an exception. Right, so two new classes, pattern and matcher, and kind of that's how you use it. So you create a pattern object, and the pattern is basically converting a string into a pattern, and then you create a matcher object called the matcher method and pass it the email. You're saying this is what I want to match, and then use the matches method. 3-step kind of process. Memorize it. Right, you have to, like, it's not logical, but it's just how it has to be done. Syntactically, you have to know it. Okay, email is now validated. So when you now try to put an email that doesn't follow that regular expression, and I'll show it to you, it will throw an email exception. And that's what you want. Okay, so now see what is happening. You're only passing your email to that exception. What does happen there? When it goes here, it creates a new message. What you've passed it is not a valid email address. This is the message that will be thrown. Your error object, your exception object has this message inside it. Okay. Okay, having coming back, let's come back. So that's complete. Severity, I wrote it for you because it was very mathematical. You've done it many times before. Please use named constant. So if the severity is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 3, it's good. I haven't thrown an exception here. I said you didn't bother to give me a right value. I'll just give it the lowest priority. So here is an option. It's not that everything needs to throw an exception. If something can go to a default value, let it go to a default value. You could have even made it 0 if you wanted. It doesn't have a severity, but usually severity is needed because that's how they kind of put their issues, right? So anything with the highest priority has to be taken care of first. So 1 means you've been given the lowest priority. Usually when we fill up forms, it comes up as a drop-down rate box and you choose one from them. So you hardly ever make mistakes. So keep in mind, interface, the front end is very important. Make it easy for the user to give input so that errors can be avoided. So if you have a drop down that has only 3 possible values, 1, 2, and 3, the user can do nothing about it. Same with date time pickers, right? You're asking which day would you set up a meeting or whatever. Give him a picker, a date time picker. Don't say, please enter your value as MMDDYY or YYYY, because then you have to validate it. What if he gave the opposite, DDMMYY? Because, and that's what used to happen in forms. I don't know if you've done that, but there were no date pickers a few years back. You had to enter them. The instruction was there. Please enter it as MM/DD/YYYY. But you could make a mistake, and then it had to be validated. Then it came back saying that the date was invalid. Now you have that picker, right? This picker. And you just pick from there. So of course, what has done? Interface has improved. Error validation has gone down. And that's why all these new things are important, okay? Okay, so there's severity, nothing that you haven't done before, so but important that some of you still miss out. You don't use you declare your constants and then you don't use them. Then they're useless. What's the sense of declaring them or defining them, I should say? It's not only declaring, it's defining them and not using them. Use them everywhere, in your error messages, in your checks, everywhere. Otherwise, the whole purpose is lost. So you're not getting marks for defining them, you're getting marks for defining and using them. Okay, so that's severity. The gets are simple: returns the name, returns the email, returns the description, returns the severity, returns the resolution, returns the ticket number, returns the date it was created on. Notice the return type. It's not an int, it's not a text, it's of type local data because that's what you're returning. Returns the get closed on. The gets are easy. All of you do good in it, right? Now, is the ticket open? So a customer comes and says, is this ticket open? So or not the customer, manager comes to the front desk and says, is this ticket open? I got a call from that way. Is it closed or whatever it is. Here is a method. Is the ticket open? Now, what can you do? When will be a ticket open? Still open. If it has not closed. So if it has not closed, its close date is none. So it's open. So what do I do? I return that value. Now start writing, since you have chosen to stay in the course, which is good, start writing compact code. Don't create local variables if they're not needed. Check the value of closed on against null. So you are saying, I think it was closed on, right? Just do this. Why should you create a Boolean local variable, then put the value into the variable and then return the variable? What does it do? It checks, is closed on null? Yes, true. What will it return? Ticket is open, true. I mean, see, do you want to do a not or do you want to write the condition? You have to check that, but that's all I'm doing. So it will do the right hand side first. Return is at the end. Closed on equal to null. It's checking. Are you yes or you no? You could use ternary operators also, but this will work. Don't use an A for a ternary operator. Don't create local variables. Do as less work you can do with effectiveness. I'm not saying less means the work is not right. We are saying it is still effective. So why should you create a local variable? It's more time. I mean, it is time. You will say, oh, time adds up. So write efficient code. So what does it do? It checks the value of closed on against null. Remember, that's its initial value in the constructor. Or even if you hadn't written it, that's what it is. Until you put a value into it, it's not defined. You check it against null. Are you null? If the answer is true, it returns true. If it is not, it returns false. And the return type of my method is Boolean. Job done. So this gives you true or false. And again, when you say true and false, please don't say it returns whether the ticket is open or not. You say true if the ticket is open, false if closed. You say, don't say whether it is open or not. So I don't know whether is where. Okay, so true if open, closed if false. Okay, now so that's another one, is ticket open. Now, what else do you do with the ticket? Of course, you update its resolution. You have to put something in its close date also at a certain time, which we will. But it says, okay, this will update the resolution field and timestamp when the ticket was closed. That means I have to do two jobs. One, I have to add something to the resolution, but I had started with null. Resolution was null when it started, right? If you start with a empty string, then we can do a plus. If you don't start, then we have to be careful what we do. So I'm not sure what I did in this sense, but that's okay. Okay, so what do? A new string is coming to you. So Ravinder asked me this question. So can you assign it a value? Sure, you can, even if it is null. Only in strings. I repeat, only in strings, because strings automatically do a new string and then puts a value, not in any other object. If an object is null, you cannot assign it a value. Strings are okay. Then you have to first say new, something like this. You would have to do something like this. Example, object is done a new, whatever type it was. T was its type. It is giving you, right? First you have to say new T. If you can pass it to the constructor, sure. If you cannot pass it to the constructor, then you would go obj is assigned the value of whatever. Remember, in strings, this is a two thing process. In a string, automatically it's a new string and then it passes that resolution to it. That's how strings work. Just because they are strings and they're so commonly used. That's why only. Okay. And take your closed on and do the same thing. Take your local date time and do a now. And your job is done. So you're closing the ticket. Again, you don't want to bother what's the time. It's not text. It's not nothing. You don't want to. I mean, you could write it yourself and convert it into a local date time object. Why would you do it? But you can. You'll say, what if I want to write somebody's birthday in local date time? I can't use now with it. Of course you can. But there is a way of converting a string which has January, whatever, July 20th at this time and save it in a birth date. You can do that. Of course you can. Right? There will be methods that will be available to convert them. In birthdays, you can do now, of course. Or if you're setting up a meeting, you can say now. So there are ways of converting it. There will be some methods. I remember I've used it. So I know there are. So there it is, closed. The ticket has been closed. This method will add a timestamp to the issue and add information or findings. So this is the one that I was telling you. You could create a new field called information or findings, or you could keep adding it to the issue field. I mean, I just chose to add it to the issue field. It's not important at all. Okay, so we want to update. We are sending the string as the update information as a string. Yes, Ravinder? Yeah, but now it's null, but I'm assigning it a value which is valid. It's a static method that creates an object. Where did I open it? Here. Oh, I should have come from there. Forget that I can do that. Look at your now method. It will be returning an object of that kind. So you just have to see how it works. That's all. There it is. It returns a boolean. It returns a variable of that kind. So automatically you can assign it. You just have to see how to work with it. That's all. Okay. So I was sure that's what it. And notice what it says: the current date time using the system clock and default time zone. It's not null. So it picks it up from your system and does it. And there are more ways of doing it. You can pick it from a particular zone. You can pick it from a particular clock. I've never used that. I don't know what that is. And here is what I was talking about. You can give an year, a month, a day of month, hour and minute, and it will create a local date time object for you. So you can create it. The method is called off, right? So you can create one. So if I wanted to create somebody's birthday, what would I do? I would give an year, and it says how you have to give the year. The year to represent from min year to max year. They've laid, these are two constants in the same class, min year and max year. They're defined right top here. If you paid attention, if not, it's not a big deal. All constant, there they are, min and max. Notice, quite big, but whatever it is. Right? So now if you wanted to create somebody's birth date, you would use one of these off methods. You can give year, month, day of month, hour and minute. You can give hour, minute and second. You can give hour, minute, second and nanoseconds also. So to create somebody's date of birth, this is how you would work. If you want not to give a number, you will have to give a number here. Notice it says int month, but here it says month. You can give January, February if you want. So all methods are available, and please appreciate that somebody has written Java doc comments. Somebody has written Java doc comments for you so that you can do it easily. That's what somebody has done. And therefore I say, please write Java doc comments in. You can convert something to a local date also. I remember you could do it. You can get an year. There it is, to local date. And there it is, get year. If you want to get an year out of a local date time, it will give you the year. So it's a basically full-fledged date type in MySQL with all the methods. There you call it functions, here you call it methods. It's a full one. Like you could create whatever you want. And notice how somebody has written all these for you so that you know exactly how to use them. Otherwise, how will you know how to use them? Some of them are tough to understand, but at the end of the day, you do find something or the other. It does work. There is another way to create a date. You can use the parse method. So you give your text. The text is given like text field, and then you use a date time formatter. I've used a off. I know the off. I haven't used. I think parse once I've done. I can't remember. Maybe it will come up somewhere when I give you an assignment, or maybe somewhere when I do it. But I've used one. Off I've used by giving the name of the month and so on. Here it is. Off I've used. It's easy. It's not difficult at all. You give an int for an year. You give an int for a month. Int for the. So if it was July, I would give 7 here. Day of month is 20. Hour is 14. It goes in 24 hours clock. Okay, but it's see here they've given you all the parameters. Month from 1 to 12, day from 1 to 31, and the best part is if you try to put 31 in a February month, it comes up with an exception. You don't have to even bother about that. So it creates valid dates. So it's a useful class. So I haven't used it to its extent, but at least I can do it. Yes.
What if you were to put 29 for February
and then here it will check the leap year and everything. It's handy. It's a very handy class. Exactly. So see, why reinvent the wheel is the main thing. It's there, use it. Similarly, there are simple examples. There was no sorting. We had to, if I wanted to sort a list of numbers, I would write the sorting function or the method or the code myself in my code. Now there is a sort method. Why would I do it? So see, it's making life easy. Programmers are making life easier for other programmers. But for non-object oriented programming languages, there was no sort method. There was nothing. You had to write your own procedure yourself. Therefore, I know all my sorting algorithms because I had to do it. You have quick sort, you have merge sort, you have heap sort. Those are algorithms. Now nobody even talks about it. Who cares? Similarly, for searches, there was sequential search, there was binary search, and a programmer had to write code to search for a value. Now by So keep this in mind. The classes have provided you, the classes that have been provided in the library are for your benefit. Use them. And that's an important part of object-oriented languages. Write your own classes and learn to use the classes that are available in the library. And therefore, when you write classes, appreciate that why does my class need Java doc comments? Because somebody else, when they use it, they should know what each method does, what are the parameters, what is the return value, and so on. Who knows, someday your class may be in the Java library. I don't know, right? Therefore, I teach you how to write Java doc comment. Maybe you don't, it doesn't make a lot of sense right now. You'll say, who cares how it has to be used? But in the long run, at the end of the day, it is the correct way to do it. For the game, I said, give me regular comments also, because understanding somebody's code is so difficult. That's why I asked for regular comments. Regular comments are for programmer and your group, people who are working together, or your teacher who's marking it. But Java doc comments are for the whole world. How to use my class, how to use my methods, what do you need as parameters, what is the return type, so on and so forth. So don't be lazy. If you want to be programmers, don't be lazy. Okay, so what am I updating? Oh, what have I done? Close, update. I was doing update. So it says, please add a timestamp also, because timestamps have to be added. When was it updated? Otherwise, how will I know this? It was updated on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the issue description. That was the variable I had. I'm going to concatenate to it. Right? It has an issue already. Whether it's blank or not, we don't know, but it has an issue. And I'm going to concatenate to it a string. It's a string. Okay. I'm going to concatenate to it a string which has the update information and today's date in a proper manner, and see how I'll do it. Again, I'm not creating any local variables because I can do it right here. I am saying take my issue description and concatenate to it the string which I have formatted here, right? And the string I formatted is, I'll format it in a neat manner so that you can see. Okay, so what do I want to show? I want to show a few things. I'll always start with a new line, because remember printf, format or printfs don't go to a new line automatically. So always take care that you put new line characters. Then I'm going to show you something as a string. I'm going to give a dash, something as a string. I hope you know what is that something as a string. Two things. One, the update information and the time. So I'll put the time. You know what? Something is definitely wrong with my mouse. It's been doing this. Okay, so take the now method again. So I'll put the date. And I'll put, so the date automatically will be converted into, it was returning a date, but it is automatically converted into a percentage as format says converted. And the second thing I'll be putting is your update information. What was it called? Update info. There it is. Semicolon missing. There it is. So issue descriptions will be written this way. Date information, next line, date information, next line, date information, date information. Neat enough to read. And dates are important. Dates are always maintained with tickets. Okay, job done. So the first percentage S will be replaced by local date time dot now. Automatically it does a conversion. Percentage S's and formats are good that way. And this update information will replace this percentage. There's a dash in between just for like a dash, normal dash. You could give a colon if you like, whatever you like. Blanks usually not good because blanks can occur at many places. Dashes or colons are good. That's how I update a ticket. So again, I mentioned I have updated my information in my issue description. You could have chosen a different field altogether and done the updates there. So issue is different from communication, is different from resolution. I just chose it this way. And then now at the end, don't forget your favorite method. The toString method is overridden and it gives you it gives you all information inside the object. So I've given a few information. I've shown the ticket number. I've shown when it was opened, when it was closed, what was the issue and what was the resolution. And notice a few smart things I've done. The get ticket number is getting the ticket number. Get created on is getting the date. But notice, what did I do with get closed it? I don't know whether it will be open or closed. So what did I use? I used the ternary operator. I said, if it is null, say issue open in front of it, else show me the closed on date. You don't want to see null in front of it. If it is not yet closed, you will see null in front of it because that's what you initialized it to. So I don't want to see null. So what did I say? I said, if it is null, print issue open, else print closed on, right? Or always a good, it's always good to use get methods, please. So instead of saying get, use a get, I think it was called here. I usually kind of always use get methods when I do my toString. I don't use them anywhere else, but I do use them in my toString methods. And similarly, I've done the same thing for resolution. See, I've done the same thing for resolution. Resolution is null. That means the issue is still open. It has not yet been resolved. So it will say issue open in front of it. Else get your resolution. So instead of resolution, you can use instance variables. Nothing stops you from using instance variables. It's just that toStrings will usually use the get methods. And I don't mind using them in toString because you're trying to format it and you're kind of saying this is what my object contains. So you kind of just use it. Sometimes you don't want to, you don't have to, it's not a rule. You could use your instance. I could have used my instance variables instead of get ticket number, just ticket number. Instead of get created on date, just created on. So you can use instance variables in your toString. There is no rule to it. Many people don't always use get inside class, always, anywhere they need it, not only in toString, everywhere they use gets. Sets, of course, I say you have to use because you should always be using sets because sets will validate or do whatever. Gets, I am not in the habit, I just use instance variables, but people have that habit. They just say, why? Talk to the object as it has to be talked to. Don't talk to it as if, oh, you're inside the class, so I can use the instance variables. I'm outside the class, so I'm going to use gets. Just talk to it as if it was an object. And they're right. There's nothing wrong with it.
Can we put use open method in the variable?
Can I do what?
Use open method in the variable.
Any method can be called. Exactly. Yeah, but you see what it will say in front of it, then true, false. That's not what I want to print. Because is ticket open is returning a Boolean value. So in front of closed date, you don't want to see a true or a false. You want to see something like a date, or you can say issue open makes sense. True, false doesn't make sense to a user. And otherwise also true or false doesn't make sense in front of a date. Issue open makes sense, and the date, of course, makes sense. So, but you could, there's nothing, I mean, you could, but.
At the place of the condition. Like,
oh, you mean here? Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yep, you can. Yep, you can. So here, what was that method? So if you want to do it this way, what was that method? Ticket open? Yeah, you can. There. Wasn't it called ticket open? Is open? Ticket is open? Is open only. Okay. Is ticket open? Okay. Yeah, definitely you can. You can. That returns a true or a false. So if it returns true, that's, yeah, you can do that. Here also, now that you mention it, here also let me use the get resolution method. I must maintain, I must be symmetrical in whatever I do. I mean, what I had written wasn't wrong, but I'm trying to be consistent in my use. That's all I'm trying. Now you could do that. There's nothing wrong. So you're using the is-ticket open method to see if it is open, it will return is ticket open, return. Yeah, issue is open, as yeah, it will work. I'm just seeing if the logic is right. You can use any methods. And now again, see, I didn't create any local variables. I didn't format my string separately. I kind of just wrote one string and start doing it. Get into the habit of writing compact, good code. Okay. Okay, we'll take a break. Thank you for your patience for the last 10 minutes. It's a little late. We'll take a break here, come back in 20 minutes, and then we'll go to the ticketing system. Yes, Melinda. Yeah, I think I remember 20 out of 20. Okay, it was 19. I think I bumped it up to make it full 2. If I remember. It was that. But I have the sheet in my. I did get all my sheets too.
Which that one?
10%.
Okay, so if that place is 33, that's like I'm really bad, right?
Right now, if it says,
It says 33.
have I entered your grade? Yes, I have entered your grade. So it's 33. I'm hoping that the next assignment can get you full 100%. So you're still failing, but you still have 50 more to go.
50 more marks?
Yeah, 54%. Because what have you done? You've done 2 assignments and one midterm.
Yeah, they're really bad. So that's what.
So 30, 40, 50 is gone. So you're doing okay, you will. You'll be fine. So you still have 15 more in your hands. The next assignment, won't be worth 10, would be most probably worth 5, but I'm assuming you could get that whole 5, right?
Yeah.
And then when you have that assignment on inheritance and so on, and then the final exam. The exams are important in this course.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah, I think you're okay.
Okay. As long as you pass one, so that I didn't want to give up.
No, I wouldn't want you to give up.
Thank you.
What did our group get?
Let me get, it's in my office, I'll get your sheets.
Okay.
But I can't remember a lot, but definitely coding needs improvement in your group. There's a lot of redundant code, but that's okay. Right?
Do you know the scores?
I know your schools. You don't know.
Want to know?
Yeah, because the game is not a game at all. Like your logic is absolutely. All it does is this. It picks up a card, right? Therefore, always your scores are either 0 or 1, nothing else. Right? It picks up a card and at one time it compares against 15 face value, which will never be true because you kept 2 cards. I don't know why you kept it. If you want to be in the course and learn more, you should take this not as me critiquing you, but as a lesson to learn. Okay? So you keep those 15 and 16, 2 cards with 15 and 16 for no reason at all, and you get. And you know why you do. If you want to stop a loop, you can always use a Boolean variable.
Oh yeah.
It's rubbish to put 2 cards into it, and then every time you pick up a card, and I don't know why you're using 2 decks. You're playing with 2 decks. Okay, so you pick up one from a deck, and you always compare it to the card which has a face value of 15. Will it ever be true?
But it's still start from 2.
But after that, you never change it. So do you notice anytime you run your program, it will always have a 0 and a 1. Either player 1 will have 0 or player 2 will have 0.
Yeah, so that makes them either win or lose the round.
You only score 1 point.
But
But
that's
either of
for
the
one
players.
round.
The second round also has the same answer, either 0 or 1.
Yes.
Yeah, but then what are you comparing it against?
So 0 means loss and 1
No, but what are you comparing it against? When you pick up a deck of cards, what do you want to do? You want to compare this card with this card?
Yes.
But that's not what you're doing. You're comparing the first deck card with the card 15, and you're comparing this card with the card 16. That's all you do. Unless I've understood it wrong. There is not a single comment in your code.
Right.
Okay, so what I have is I marked it yesterday because you were asking me, so I marked it yesterday. I have it in my office. I don't have time today because I'm done till 4. But tomorrow, if you would like to come and sit with me and maybe try to tell me something you've done which will make sense. It's not making sense to me at all. Absolutely, I don't know what's going on. Irrespective of how many times I run, I always have the same answer.
Okay.
Right? So once maybe something you're trying to say and I can understand it.
Yes.
But if I look at the logic,
because I was doing all the work. So
that doesn't matter who's doing the work. Irrespective of who's doing the work, I need an explanation.
Yeah,
Because right now it's
so
a
I
zero.
couldn't work. What?
Yeah, right now there's nothing in the code. The game doesn't work according to me, and the logic is your code is very bad. You're really coding very bad. It's very bad. So if you want to sit with me tomorrow in my office hour, come and see me, and we can sit together and discuss. Since you've put in so much work into it, right?
Yes.
Right? So that I also understand what you're trying to do. Because there's no comment. I don't even know what you're doing.
Okay, so I think there were like less comments, so you might not actually understand what
There
I'm
were no
trying to do.
comments as far as I can remember, but that's okay. And then you're writing comments that are not making sense to me. Maybe. Like your English is a little weak, and I don't understand what you're saying. So maybe if you want, you can sit with me together. But right now, it's almost it's really bad. Right? So I marked it, and I have to put almost 1.5 hours into it. That's what I say. When a game isn't running as it's supposed to say it is running, that's what you told me, and I made more notes. It's not running well. I can't even understand what it is.
Okay, so
Okay, so
when
sit
can
with
I come?
Check on my office hours. I think tomorrow, Friday, they're from 2 to 3.
Okay.
Right? So are you free tomorrow, 2 to 3?
Yes.
Okay, so make a point to come and sit with me.
So it's
That way, at
tomorrow.
least I understand what it is. Yeah, it's almost, I think 3 or 4. When I say almost a 0, it means less than 10 out of 24. Okay? So make it a point, come and see me. Okay? And maybe it will start making sense.
Yeah, I guess it's way more.
Hmm.
That's it, yes.
Now, why is that question being asked?
Actually, I'm having appointment data from 11 to 12.
But why would you put an appointment when you know there is a class?
Actually, ma'am, it was important because my office already said having rules on the records, so they told me to get a CRN number from her, and she was not available for at least 2 weeks, and I had to go get my
Then you could
mask.
have attended yesterday's class.
Oh.
See, there are many options, but all you want to do is, oh, is there a new class? No?
There
Okay,
was-
doesn't matter.
There
Right?
was a time conflict because the system lecture was there and the data lecture was going on. I
Whatever.
texted
No,
her.
there won't be any class tomorrow.
Actually, I'm coming late, like by 12 o'clock.
Okay, that's fine.
This shit's pretty easy.
How many methods do you make? Do you think by like 30 methods?
Wide view, fuck. That's the one.
That's a lot.
So, 32. Yeah, you're probably right on the money. Shit.
I think I've done like 5 methods and it's only like 20%.
But like, I didn't find it hard this first time. So it probably took me 2 to 3 hours just to, because it's like 600 fucking lines of code in there, man. Like, it's just like the actual time to write it.
Well, some of the methods at the beginning, like the find ID and finding, those are basically the same, you're just changing.
What I did is I ran JCoco very early on, and I did all the methods with the smallest number of branches just to get them cleaned off.
Right.
Then all the huge multi-branch ones, because those are the
Well,
ones where
what do they mean by a branch?
a branch is like where there's a potential like alternative. Usually they're ones that have like arguments like string inputs and inputs, and there's maybe you put a negative in, maybe you put a 0 in, like more invalid values. Right. So I just eliminated the simple shit up front. That's all, I guess. If you want to tackle the hard stuff first, I guess you do those ones. But
I'm just going in order.
yeah, those the fine ones are like the most comprehensive ones to check out. Once you get past those, the rest of it will fly. Plus, when I started doing it, I didn't really get it for like the first like 30 minutes. I was like still trying to like wrap my head around like what the fuck am I supposed to even be doing here?
I don't know. Yeah, I just looked at her more patient thing. And I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The only thing there is on page, I think, somewhere.
I pulled up the Java doc and all the assert statements. That was key. I just had a quick read through all what was available.
Not J.
That's what I was using.
Holy smokes. There's a ton of them.
They're just overloaded though. Just like objects or strings or whatever. So
Apparently, our card game was full of redundant code.
oh,
Oh, great. This here like the whole number of things. There you go.
You just messaged me maybe like last week.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. So he's going to take you.
just to get it all the program.
I don't know.
It's just like one that just focuses on web or Flex web or. Focus it on like at least one piece of the puzzle.
Don't take it so much bigger.
Swear to fucking target.
That's exactly what I told.
Can I show you?
Yep.
So, I
Okay.
went through, like, I have like the full
thing.
coverage on everything.
And what's the result? Are they showing you all the exceptions that have been thrown? There are 8 to
Like when I like run it inside here.
Yeah.
I do the
10. Run test file. Just open results window. Okay, so now this is what I want to,
Yeah,
not to do. Okay, so come anything that's throwing an exception, show me a method that's throwing an exception.
I think that's throwing an exception. I put the catcher in it to say, hey, this is going to throw expected.
Yeah, so just remove this. And then it will start showing you error messages, and that's what I want to say. That's not a test failed. That's just showing a message.
Yeah, yeah.
It will still say all tests have passed.
No, I understand. I was just saying because in class you said
I
you
showed
don't
both
want
of
to see
them.
green.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's okay. So
But
take
in my-
those out. Okay, sure.
In my assignment, I've said that I would
Okay.
like to see the exception messages,
Okay, perfect. And
and that's okay then.
in terms of like, do you want this system dot outline in each method?
Because then I will know which methods you've checked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you want this line calling which methods being tested, or do you want it to be calling like what the method's called?
It's kind of giving me an idea. You're saying testing find product by ID null, so I know.
Okay, so that's
That's
fine.
a
Okay.
good enough name.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So the only thing that you have to now do is just
I'll make
remove
that
those, yeah,
adjustment, sure.
and you're okay. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I don't even understand about that.
Looks like there's like this thing personal and then you say even.
Oh,
I'm just saying that the message says no,
Okay,
and that's
yeah,
all I'm saying. It's not wrong or right. I'm just saying the messages don't match.
you know, it just.
Yeah. But for me here, more than anything, the code quality was very poor, right? For example,
You're gonna at least come.
so you're doing stuff that can be very utilized. It's really bad.
Oh, no, I knew.
Yeah.
I knew the code. Oh,
It's very poor, like it's poor.
So I just
So he's trying to see what is it and then trying to add 10. So if you, all you have to do is check that the face value is detected and just add 10 to it. That's all you have to do, right? So he's, but you're doing it one by one. If it is king, then add one. And you're doing it contains. Why do we have to even do that?
show like fail.
If its face value is greater than 10, we have a face value, get face value. If it is greater than 10, what do you have to add
I
to the?
believe
It'll just show your exception.
it should have worked anyway, but I believe the reason why I went this way is because dot get face value wasn't.
Yeah, that's what I
But it
was
should,
using.
the card
But
is getting the
but it
card,
should.
right? And then
That's why I did
you
at
don't
first,
need
and I
them,
went
you
through
don't need all
proposals, and
these
it was like, okay, I'll make it
things,
all
you know,
work
like
out for you.
look
So-
at number of horses, whatever. All you have to do is it a jack card? So anything that is greater than, if the get face value
Well,
is
yeah,
greater
that's what
than
I'm saying,
10,
because unless you.
all you have to do is
I
add
know,
it.
exactly, I'm like, unless you would be expected.
So it's one
I know
line
there's-
code, yeah.
I know there's a
Code
bunch of-
quality, yeah. So that's where I think you've lost most of your marks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but go through it, look at the comments and everything, see if something is not, or maybe I mistook it, but
Figure out what the null pointer exception was, because I never did. Because I knew at times it would randomly give a null pointer exception,
I was fine.
but no matter how many times I went through it, it wouldn't show.
Oh, it says, yeah, in one run.
Yeah,
Oh, no, I didn't. I can look at it if you want. I'm just marking them right now.
I know.
And the other one that kind of put me off was when the player gets a 21, he wins, right?
Yes.
But there's nothing like that in your code.
Because when in an actual game of 21, the dealer isn't aware of the fact that you have 21. That's why.
No,
So
but
it's
if
up to
I'm
the
hitting,
dealer to hit or stay on.
no,
the
no,
21.
suppose I am hitting and I make a total of 21, then I should automatically win, right?
You have to tell the user. You have to tell the dealer I'm staying still. You don't just flip up your
Oh,
cards.
yeah, I did stay. When I got a 21, I thought I'm staying now and I should win, but I didn't.
You didn't?
No, and I did it twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's, yeah.
Something in the code, right? And it's so difficult to look at somebody's code and try to make it work.
Probably seen so many variations of that, yeah.
Oh, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they're all different, like,
Yeah, the implementation
I think you are the only one who did the money one.
Yeah.
The rest didn't do the money. So that's why you have more marks in your complexity, right? Because you made it full. And I had to watch videos to find out what they were. I mean, I have to know it's right.
Yeah.
But I was confused when I saw something in one and not in the other. I'm saying, who's right now? Right? For example, I said 20. If you get a 21, you should win, right? The player should win.
Not always.
But why not? Suppose I hit and I get some. So I start with hitting and I keep hitting and I get a 21. Shouldn't I be win?
If the dealer gets 21, dealer beats all the ties.
Yeah, but the dealer has not even got a chance. His one card is hidden, one is open.
Doesn't matter. You got 21.
And I stayed.
Yeah. Your logic should stay. But
Yeah.
if the dealer somehow got 21 as well.
You mean after he opens his card?
After the
Ah.
reveal, that the dealer still wins.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, dealer wins all the ties. Yeah.
Okay. But there was something like I was staying and nothing happened. The dealer was hitting a card. He shouldn't be hit. I mean, if he has to hit, then he's lost anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what was. So I was confused, but like I tried my best running and game's over, but whatever. I did my best. Therefore, I say I've given it back to you. I've written my comments. If you still see somewhere that maybe I've misinterpreted it, no. If you have misinterpreted it, anything. Therefore, I'm saying if I've missed something because it's not easy, right?
Oh yeah, like the debugging took me longer than coding it. I like drew
Yeah.
the charts of the scenario.
Exactly, and that's what I'm doing. If I can't figure out, I'm trying to put print statements in your code, and it's not easy. It's not, because I don't understand what you're trying to do. So therefore, I'm giving this back so that you can look at it, you can satisfy yourself. I haven't lost marks unnecessarily, or it's the right thing, logical, and then get back to me. Okay. Okay, guys. So let's go back to our now trouble ticket. So our tickets is ready. Right, so tickets are ready. We've kind of taken care that ticket has a name, number, everything. Now, what does a ticket troubling system do? When a ticket troubling system gets a ticket or gets a request, it creates a ticket. So the job of the trouble ticketing system is first to create a ticket, give it a reference number, and then go from there. Then there are questions. You want to update something, you want to find out which tickets are open, you want to find out. I mean, there could be so many methods you could put in it. Again, I've restricted myself again because of time. And then, as I said, I mean, just giving you what I think you should know. Okay, so let's start looking at the trouble ticketing system. A few things that I would again like you to pay attention to. So what do we need? A list for sure, because I have to keep my tickets in a list. Now, in real life, this is the most uncommon method because you'll be either using a file to keep the tickets or you'll be using a table in the database to keep the tickets, because they should just not vanish. Array list vanishes. It's a volatile data structure. You're running the code, it exists, code stops, gone, right? But again, because databases and files are not in my course, I'm sticking with my array list. But you still need a collection. So you have a collection to keep the tickets. Also notice how I have created a next in number. I called it next on purpose so that it made a little sense to you. It's called the next ticket number, saying what is the number or the reference number for the next ticket that will be issued. It is its nature is auto increment by default. So I'll start with 1. So let's complete the constructor. 2 things in the constructor. 1, please keep in mind anytime you use an array list, don't forget to go, or I mean, I use my angular brackets also. You don't have to, because it kind of picks it up from the declaration. I don't forget my old things. That's the problem. I must say, okay, now it's done. I should forget about them. So don't forget this. So initialize your list. So you can put a comment if you like. You can say initialize the list to be empty. Or you can say create the list, whatever you like. Right? You're just initializing it. It's empty. You can say the empty list. That will contain tickets. That will store the tickets. Okay, and then next important thing that I want to do, this next ticket number variable, I want to start with 1. So in my constructor, I'm doing 2 jobs. I'm not taking any parameters, but I'm doing 2 jobs. 1, I'm creating my empty array list in which I will save my tickets. Okay, and 2, I'm initializing my auto increment field to 1. I'll automatically increment it. So it starts with 1, so that when a ticket comes to me and I create a ticket, I automatically give this and then increment it up by 1. Okay, so this is my auto increment field. You'll say, oh, do we have to do it this way? No, you could have created a ticket number, but that's usually how it is done in an automated system. Tickets are not, the number, the references numbers are not created by hand. They're created automatically. So I start with the 1, you could have started with 10,000, doesn't matter. That's what happens in the constructor. Now the main job of this class is to create a ticket. So when it creates a ticket, so I have sent an email to the IT department. I've sent in my name, my email, and so on, and severity and issue. And now they create a ticket. How do they create a ticket? They create a ticket object. If there is anything in, doesn't really matter, but anyway. Oh, it's called trouble ticket. That's why it's going red. I'm saying, what have I forgotten now? The name of my class. Okay, you create a trouble ticket. Call it whatever you like. I'm just calling it new ticket. And go new trouble ticket. And what does it want from you? It wants a few things. It wants your name. The next, now you don't, so what will you provide it? The next ticket number. Now here you can, whatever, user, email, issue, and severity. Your ticket is ready. So notice the use of the next ticket number. It starts with 1, and once I've created it, of course, I need to increment it. So job number 2, ticket is created, and I want to now add it to my system. Add it. And 3, remember to increment your ticket number up by 1. Plus, notice what create ticket is doing. It is giving a reference number back to the user. This is your reference number. Oh, my throws is missing. Sorry about that. Throws clause is missing in the comments. Not a big deal, but I have to have it. It throws an email exception. Notice again, this method is using the constructor. The constructor is calling the update email. The update email throws an email exception, so I have to throw it here also. If you don't do it, it will complain. Right, try removing the throws. I mean, I have more errors right now. I'll do it afterwards. But anyway, so the reference number is being returned. So now there are 2 things to be done. And you help me as to what can I do to kind of take care of it. I have to increment my ticket number. But before I increment the ticket number, I have to send it back to the user also. Now there are 2 things to be done. And one is opposite the other. I can't increment it before I start. I can do this. I can't say the next ticket number is a plus plus, because I still need to return it. You'll say, why don't you minus it? Kind of very untidy, but yes, you can do it. But now you increment it and now you decrement it. Like, it's a little silly, but I hope you understand what I've done. I have incremented the ticket number to make it ready for the next ticket. So a plus plus. And then the value that I return to my client or to my customer or whatever is ticket number -1, because I've incremented it, right? There is a short, do you know the difference between if you put a plus plus in front or a plus plus afterwards? Are you aware of it? One says use it before you increment it, and one says use it and then increment it. You'll say, how does it matter? In a standalone statement, it doesn't matter. But see what I am going to do. Instead of writing 2 statements, I'll do this. The first one wasn't wrong. The first one said incremented, but to return the value, it said decrement, subtract 1 from it and return it. But see what I've done here. It says return the ticket number, which has not yet been incremented, and then increment it. So both jobs have been done. And this is absolutely logical and correct, syntactically also. So instead of writing 2 statements where I first increment it, and then I subtract 1 from it to return it, I just did it in 1 statement. So again, compact code, but you should know. And this is wrong. If I put a, here now, C++ is important. If I put a plus plus in the front, what is it saying? It's saying increment the ticket number first and then return it to the user. That's a wrong one anyway. Why? Because you've given me the next number, not my number. So here the plus plus is important where you put it. Do you put it before the variable name or do you put it after the variable? In a standalone statement, it doesn't matter where you put it. But when you start using it in expressions, where you're using it in a formula or in a return statement, then it becomes important. This is wrong. This will give back 1 more than my ticket number back to me. So a ticket gets created it gets added to the array list. And then I want to return this number, this reference number to my consumer, but I also want to increment it. So return it first, and then you'll say, how can that be possible? Return it first means what? I mean, it's not kind of saying, okay, go buy, I'm returning it. It's saying use it first in the return statement, use the value in the return statement, and remember to increment it. So there is a difference of putting the plus plus the increment or the decrement operator before a variable name or after a variable. There is a difference. Okay, keep that in mind. So there is your create ticket. That's how you create a ticket. And the ticket number is automatically generated. So you started with a 1. The next time it will be created, the person will get a 2. The next time the person will get a 3. The next time 4. And that's how you should create ticket numbers. They're not generated by hand. Okay, so here is an auto increment field that you use also in relational databases. Okay, let's go ahead then. Now it says this method returns the ticket with the specified ticket number. We are good with this. Oh, I was trying to show you if I forget this, if I forget my throws, it's going to cry. See? So making it extend the exception class forces me to take care of it. Though the taking care is only throwing it further, but it is taking care of it. And I want to. Ultimately, the application will have to handle it in a try-catch block. Have to. You can't, main can't just throw it further. Okay, now this says find is the ticket number valid or if it is not. And look at my return statement. It says the requested ticket or null if the ticket number is invalid. You'll say, why can't we just throw an exception? You will see that I will use this method further. And there is where I made it null instead of throwing an exception. Now, null is not a good value to return to an application, but the application can always check. If the return value is null, print a message on the screen. You know what I mean? But I'll show you that it's not always necessary to, I did one for severity. I gave it a default value. Here, instead of throwing an exception, I am returning a null. And you will see how I use it. So again, coding is something that's not just, you have to code a certain way. There are no rules. Same code, 5 blackjack games, they were all different. Right? Coding can be done in many ways. But you have to remember, because you're a programmer, you have to code well. The code quality has to be good. Of course, it should run. That's a different thing. But the code quality should also be good. If an if else is needed, why are you writing 2 ifs? I mean, how can both conditions be true? You need an if else, use an if else. So those are small things. If a job can be done by single statement, why are you writing or in it? So if the input, if I can use equals ignore case, why would I say if input is Q1 or capital Q1 or small, why would I do it? Right? So that's code quality, and which is very important. Things should work is perfectly fine, but things work well is something different. So that's the differentiation between, yeah, game works. Okay, here are your marks for game works, but is your code good? Did you write it well is another aspect of it. And I emphasize on both of them. For me, both of them are important. Okay. Okay, so let's see, get the ticket. And if it is not available, give me a null back. So basically what you have to do is you have to kind of check whether it is available. So what is the ticket? It is a ticket. Okay, so let's start. We have to, of course, browse it, browse my, what was it called? Browse my tickets array list and check it and do it. That's all I have to do. So let's do this. So let me see, is it, okay, it's letting, okay, fine. So use a for each loop and not a for loop. Forget about for loop, guys. It's too much work. In a collection, it's too much work. Don't bother. Go this way. Call it whatever you like. You can call it T or you can call it ticket, whatever you like. And get it from your tickets. See how simple is this for each loop? Starts from 0, goes on till size -1 of tickets, picks up get I. So you've reduced your code already. You didn't have to write, you didn't have to use a local variable I, you didn't have to write the condition, you didn't have to call the size method, you didn't have to increment I, nothing. Why would you, and not use the get method? Otherwise I'll have to get it. This automatically gets, puts it in the local variable ticket, and then you work with it. So stop using a for loop in your array lists. Absolutely not. Okay, so what are you going to do? When is a ticket? You're comparing the ticket number. And remember, ticket numbers are unique. I don't have to kind of say, oh, keep checking the whole thing. As soon as I get it, I can go out. So if the ticket that you've taken out of your array list, its ticket number. Where is it? There it is. It's an integer equal to the ticket number I have given you or the method has received. If they're equal, make a return right away. Why would you loop through the whole loop and then use a flag, a Boolean variable, check, yeah, I found it, and not need it? I just want to find the first occurrence. And remember, there is only one ticket by that number. So why will I go through the whole loop, use a Boolean variable, make my life tough? I say, okay, keep checking. As soon as you get it, return it. Job is done. Again, there's a difference between writing this code and writing a code where you use a Boolean variable, then check the whole list, then make your decision. As soon as I get it, leave. Job is done. That's more efficient code. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to do a return null. I'm not throwing an exception here. I'm just making it a little different. I want to make it a little different. Otherwise, what's the sense of doing more examples if I keep repeating what I've been doing, right? So I'm giving you all options. What you choose will depend upon what you're doing. So do I need to return null? Do I need to throw an exception? You have to decide, right? So that's how you get a ticket. So to get a ticket, you traverse the whole list of tickets, check the ticket number because that's my unique field, return it if you find it. And if this doesn't happen, automatically it will come here and return null. And null is a completely valid value when you're returning an object. It is a completely valid value. It is valid. You can return null for an object. So I'm not throwing an exception here for a particular reason, but this is another way of doing it. It is more work on the application side. The application will have to check, oh, did something come back? Yes, no, null. Then I have to tell the user there is no ticket by this number. So the application has to write an extra if statement. But I'll use this in my code to make my life easy. Okay, what is the maximum ticket number that has been issued till now? It says the method will return the highest ticket number issued. It has already been issued. So what should you be returning? Your next -1. Remember, you always increment it after you issue it. You make it ready for the next user. So reduce it by, I'm not reducing it. I'm just doing a calculation. So ticket number is not going less 1. It's just a calculation. The value is going back. So if ticket number is 10, how many have been issued? 9. But the next ticket number doesn't change from 10 to 9. I'm not doing a calculation. I'm not saying ticket number is equal to ticket number -1. I'm just saying return this value. Do a calculation. So don't make that mistake. Oh, I'll assign it and then I'll use it. Then you have to be careful what you do. And again, start, as I said, compact. Start writing code that's easy to follow. This returns the information of all the tickets currently open in the system. Okay, which tickets are open? We know which tickets are open. We have an open ticket, but we want to return information. Oh, so not the whole array list, just the information. It could have been the array list, but that's okay. We've done array list in the previous one. Maybe that's why I changed it. So take a string. It says just the information. So all I need is maybe the ticket number or on the date was open, any kind of information. Okay, so let's say take a string called open tickets. Initialize it to empty. Now here initialization is important because I'm going to concatenate to it. Okay. Now what kind of information do I have to send back? You could be using the toString method and say everything goes back. But these tickets are open. So definitely they don't have a close date. Definitely they don't have a resolution. So all I need to return maybe is just the name and who sent it or something. Minimum information. Okay. So again, you can all tickets that are open. So let's start. Take your tickets again. We've done it a different way. Find all products by name. There you created an array list and sent it back. Here I'm just giving you the information. Take a ticket. It is coming out of the tickets. All you have to do is take your open tickets and concatenate the information. And again, it depends upon you what you want to check. So check if ticket is open. And again, there are two ways. One, you can call the get closed method and check it against null, or you can use the is ticket open method and if it returns true or false. Both are possible. Is ticket open returns a true and a false, and is closed date null also tells you whether it is open or closed. Use whatever you like. So how do we say? So we are saying if the ticket is called ticket, the method is called is ticket open. Don't say is equal to true. Stop it now. This is not required. With a Boolean variable, you can just say this. This means is it true? And if you want to do a false, put a not in front of it. Don't say is equal to false. Okay, so you're saying if my ticket is open, then of course you want to concatenate information. So you can use ticket is ticket open method. You can use get closed on date and check it against null, but this is already doing it, so we'll do it. And stop using equal to true and false, please. I've seen it a lot in games. I don't want it. With Boolean variables, don't use it. There is a short form and it's complete sense. Do you ever say if raining is equal to true? You say if raining, right? Same concept here. It's true, right? If raining is equal to true, then, but you don't say if raining, you say if raining or if not raining. So use the same concept, right? Okay, so if the ticket is open, I want to concatenate to my open tickets. So use your plus equal to, and now I'll again concatenate a string with it, and I'll format it. Right, and as I said, you could have just concatenated the ticket dot to string to it, but that was a lot of information. And these are open tickets. They don't have resolutions. They don't have open tickets. I mean, they don't have a close date. So, I mean, you don't have to do it this way. You could say, why not use it? But why not? Okay, so now you can show me. We'll start with a new line always. Show me the ticket number. Show me the ticket number, right? And we'll say something like the ticket number is a %d integer, right? Your ticket number is %d. You can do whatever you like. I have chosen to write a few things and I'll just copy them. This ticket number was opened on, and now show opened on %s, the local date time, and by. If you like by, you can also say by. And that's the username. That's all information I'm giving. So instead of calling, you could do this. I hope you understand what you could have done this. You could have said, take my open tickets and concatenate it to it, just the ticket. Remember, when I just write ticket, it goes to ticket.toString. You don't have to. You could have done this and just returned it. And you would have, for every ticket, it would have given you all that information in toString. Username, date, opened on, closed on will always be issue open. Resolution will always be issue open. So I went this way. So, and now what do we need to show? What's the first one? Ticket number is a %d. Get ticket number. That's my first one. Oh, what is this? This is a ticket. Give me a minute. No, I'm using the wrong one. No, we are using the right one. Oh, I forget now what it was called. Sorry. You know what? Give me a minute. I have the printed copy of the other one. It is called get ticket number. Okay, so ticket, get your ticket number. Copied this one. The ticket, get your ticket number. That's the first one, comma. Do I have an extra bracket? Looks like string format. No, yeah, I have an extra bracket. Okay, second, ticket number was opened on. So what do I need to get? Ticket, get your closed date. What's the third one? By username. Get username. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. Yes, not closed. These are open tickets. Get open on date. What was the method called? Created on date. Of course. And there you go. Get username maybe then. When you don't type yours, yeah, get username. There it is. And of course, we need a return statement. If you don't want to give it in a like a sentence form, you can always put it in a tabular form. I mean, that's as long as it is complete, correct, and readable, it's fine. right? So take a string. It said, I mean, not it said, I just took a string here because we've already done how to return an array list. We've done it in products. So I took a string, I checked the whole, for each loop, please. Check the whole array list. If it is open, I concatenated that information. And remember to put a %n because otherwise it doesn't start with the new line. And there it is. And you can always put a period at the end here to make it grammatically correct. That is giving you information about open tickets. Okay. So these tickets are open. So manager comes and says, what are which tickets are open? So it says, oh, and then you can always make a comparison. You can always do, no, closed on may not, maybe null, but you can always find out how many days till date it has been open. That's another question. What tickets were open on July 10th is another question. Any question will have a corresponding answer. You just have to write a method for it. That's all, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. This method will close the specified ticket. Okay, notice how I'm throwing an exception. I'm saying if you can't find it, throw it. And now this is where I'm going to use that return null I have used. So if I'm going to say if you found it, close it. If you didn't find it, then here I'm going to throw an exception. Okay, so let's do it. If the ticket was found. So I have a ticket number and a close ticket. Okay, I have a ticket number and a resolution. So the first thing is get the ticket. And again, you can put it in all one statement if you like. You can kind of do it like this. You can say get. Come on, not helping me. Get ticket, then pass the ticket number, right? So you don't have to use a local variable. So you're basically saying get the ticket with this ticket number, and if it is not equal to null, that is where it will come handy now. So null says it's not present. If it is not equal to null, that means, okay, that's fine. We can close it. I found it. I can close it. So how do you close it? Call, oh, I need to create a local variable because I have to call it. Oops, trying to be smart. Double ticket, call it T. Or you could have called the same method twice. I avoid calling methods than over using local variables because local variables is just local and calling means you're taking double the time. So here. Why have I done this? Because I have to do this. I have to now with T call and it was called close ticket. No, what was it called? Yep, it was fine. So I'm calling the close ticket of the ticket class. And therefore this T not equal to null will come handy. I mean, it's not necessary. If it throws an exception there, we are fine. I mean, exceptions are fine too, and we've done it in the last. Example that I did. You choose whatever app works for your application. Here I've shown you just a different way. The whole purpose is showing you different ways. So it is returning null. If I do that, I do this else. I have to throw an exception. Throw a new this exception, ticket closed exception. Oh, see, something is wrong with my mouse. I don't know what's happening. It jumps all over wherever it has to go. Maybe it needs a cleaning or something. So create a new ticket closed exception and pass it the ticket number. That is what it was expecting. There. I mean, I'm hopefully, you know by now that if there is only a single statement inside if, you don't have to put your curly brackets. Some programmers like to do it just in case they want to add more code. So I leave it to you. But you don't have to. It's not necessary at all. And because half the time the IDE does it, programmers have stopped bothering. They put an opening and the IDE puts the closing, so they're okay. But it's not necessary. It's not syntactically, it's not required. Syntax is, it's not a syntax rule. One statement doesn't require opening and closing. What is open and close? When you have something inside, more than one. So you don't need it. Okay. Okay, so there it is. So in this one, I have said throw the ticket close exception, and it seems that I forgot my throws here. So it throws this exception. It throws this exception if there is no ticket by, or if the ticket was not found by this ticket number. Again, keep in mind, we don't use any variables or anything. We just go normal. In params, we use it because you can see it. In normal comments, we just kind of say it normally. In descriptions, we don't mention any instance variables or anything. In return, we don't mention. That's how you close the ticket. So you find the ticket first. If the ticket is found and it is not equal to null, you close it. Now let me think. What if it was not open? As I write it, I just think about it. If a ticket is already closed, and it calls it again with the resolution. Yeah, that's a problem, right? What if the ticket is already closed? So I'm assuming, are they removed? No, I haven't removed closed tickets from my array list. See what will happen? Suppose the ticket is already closed. The ticket number, yeah, no, you have to think logically. If a ticket is already closed, does the ticket number exist in your system is the first thing. I don't know how practically they work. I didn't ask. Do they kind of, I mean, they can't just throw it, you know what I mean? It's still in the database, or does it go into another array list? But I haven't even done that. I haven't removed it even. If I remove it, I'm okay. But this one can cause a problem. The ticket is already closed. It already has a close date. And now I'm again sending it a ticket a resolution. It will add that resolution because all it did was it assigned it and again change the close date. I didn't think about it. If I remove it, then I'm safe, right? Because if I remove it, it doesn't exist in my system. So the next call will fail. I mean, I don't know logically what do they do. I don't think they just like throw it or whatever, like the information still says. But if I wanted to do it, I could do it this way. Then I'm okay. T, there it is. But then comes if I remove it and somebody wants information on closed tickets. Oh no, this won't work. Nope, nope. Then I won't be able to write a toString and shows me all my tickets in my system, whether they're open or closed. I can't do that then. Into another array list, yes. Yeah. Then I can have an array list of closed tickets. Yeah, that can be done. So you create another array list. One is saying my tickets, and then you can have a backup, which that's what I'm assuming. The tickets must be going somewhere. They may be removed from the table and sent into another table, and then put it in another table. Yeah. But otherwise, if I remove them, then I don't have a toString. But if I want information on tickets that were closed on, say, July 10th, for whatever reason, then I won't have that information. That information is lost. Yeah, so removing is not the correct solution. It's the easiest solution, but not the correct solution. Yeah, the other option is just moving it. So remove it from here and add it to another one. Or another option. No, that won't work. Because the null has gone. Yep, this won't work. Just removing it is not the solution. Yep, so create another array list then. That's one solution for sure. Can you think of a better one? Like I don't move them, but there is some way of inside them to know that they are already closed. Yeah, they'll have a closed date. It is not equal to null. But that's all okay. I can get that information. But my problem here is I can close a ticket that was already closed. So, why don't we do this? Oops. Yeah, I take an if. Yeah, how silly. So you get the ticket? No. So get the ticket. If the ticket is not equal to null, and let's do another if, right? So if it is not already closed, right? So you can say if not open ticket. That way you're not creating any problems. Yeah, if not open ticket. What was it called? T total. Yeah, that makes sense now. That's the easiest way to do it. Is ticket open? Oh, I always write it open ticket. Is ticket open? So close it only if it is open. Make sense now? At least I don't want to close a ticket that is already open, that is already closed. So I get it. So it's still in my system. So I don't have to create another table for it. I get it. If it is not null, I check. If it is not open, I close it. Now let's see if else. This exception will be thrown in two cases. It may also be thrown in this case. If this if is not satisfied, no, it's okay. Message, yeah. Yep, or closed, yeah, something, because this ticket closed exception is saying ticket cannot be found. But in this one, we can make a change, right? It is my closed. Here it was saying does not exist, closure cancelled, or we can say or is closed. Sorry, does not exist or is already closed. Here, change this message. Closure cancelled. Here, make sense? Change this message. Now this message is saying either. Now if you have to be very, very specific, oh, I want to say it is not present, or I want to say it is already closed, then we'll have to create a new, a new message, right? So if you have to be specific, I want to say no, the ticket is not available, or I want to say the ticket is already closed. If you want two different messages, then you'll have to create another exception class with a different message. Okay, I mean, it will do, it's not wrong, but for me, the aim is always to make it perfect. So I should not close a closed ticket. Logically, I shouldn't, because what I'll do is if I do it, you'll say nothing happens. Something happens, the close date changes. And why should it change? Like I cannot put wrong information in my table or in my database or in my array listing. So that will take care. Okay, so that's taken care of. Same with update, do the same thing. I've again forgotten my throws clause. You know what, I'll copy it. Oh, okay, here, if there is no ticket by the ticket number or it is already cool. I didn't think of it when I was writing it, now it makes sense. So again, it's not a one-time process. Programming is not a one-time process at all. Every time you look at it, maybe you'll revise something. So this one is ticket update option. In update, we are okay if there is no ticket by the ticket number. Here. So this is ticket update exception. Same concept. Try to find the ticket. If you find it, else throw it. So I'll copy it just because it's the same logic. Of course, it's not the same. If t is not equal to null, we want to do what? Update it. Okay, what was that method called? Update ticket, maybe. I don't know. Let's try. Update ticket, there it is. God, I don't know what's wrong with my, okay. Update message. Yeah, update message. Okay. And else throw ticket update option. There. Right, in update, there is, I mean, I can't do nothing about it. You could actually, you should not be updating a ticket that is closed. I forgot to do that closing stuff altogether. You shouldn't be updating a ticket that is already closed. You cannot close a ticket that is already closed. You know what I mean? You cannot. So here also you could put it to be on this, like to be robust again. How can you update a ticket that is already closed? So let's put that if again. I mean, it's just an if, right? So we can say if. Use the same thing, not t dot is ticket open. Then update it. So change it, please. If there is no ticket by the ticket number or the ticket is closed. So we'll again change the message in the update exception, okay? Change the message in the update exception. Sorry, ticket number does not exist or is closed. Now, of course, your application will have some rule. Are tickets that are closed out of the system? Are we removing them? Something for sure. Now, why does it have a red squiggly somewhere? Control S. Double ticketing system has an error. Oh, okay. Missing bracket. These checks were made by me. You could have removed it. We could have removed the tickets and we were okay. When you close it, you can remove them, then you don't have to worry about this. But I didn't make any that assumption, but if I remove, that's okay. And then you don't have to bother. So since nothing was said, and I kind of just said, oh, if the ticket is open, if it is not open, then update. How can you update a ticket that is already closed? So again, your application will kind of decide if the IT department says we are not keeping account of any closed tickets, what's the sense? Then our database will be full of unnecessary records. You know what I mean? The table will be full of. We don't want to keep it. It's done and finished. Bye-bye. Then I remove it and I'm safe. logically, but I don't know what they do. I've never asked them. I don't know. I've never worked at that point. Anybody who's kind of knows, I don't know. What do you think logically?
What if you were to have, once it's closed, you have like a time limit that it can stay closed for, and then it can
Then
be
just delete them?
It can be overwritten.
Overwritten. Not overwritten or delete. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Historically, they're kept typically in databases.
In a database.
For years.
For years?
Yeah.
Yeah, like an archive.
Oh my God.
So that they have-
Then maybe William's idea is better. Remove it from here and put it in another table.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. Why? Because it will increase the search time in this table, in this array list. Because every time I'm searching for something else, I'm kind of encountering this ticket that is already closed. I think then that idea is definitely better. You know what I mean? If you want to do that, it's not a big deal at all. In your ticketing system, all you have to do is what? You have to create an array list to keep the tickets, and you have to create another array list too. And his idea is better, definitely, because then I mean, why would I kind of go through it? Let's say closed tickets. Let's call it closed tickets. And then we'll have to just take this closed tickets and also create it in our constructor. This would be definitely better. It's less. It will not kind of hinder my search times. I'm sure they're archived. Yeah, I mean, not kept in the same table. They must be archived. So taking William's idea, we'll go. I've just created one called closed tickets. Okay, and where did we do the closing? Closing. There it is. So if the ticket, so you close it, and once you close it, you just, so I'll kind of comment this out. And what do? You just see now at the round. Okay, so you put it, you remove it from here and you put it there. So it was called closed tickets dot add and remove it from here. I'm in a loop, am I? No, it's okay. I'm good. And add. Sometimes you have to remember when you use remove, you just have to kind of remember where you are using it, because remove does cause problem. Here, we'll keep with him with his idea. What doesn't it like? A bracket missing? I thought I kept one and it was still says something. No suitable method found for add boolean. Oh, and for found boolean? That's not a boolean. Tickets dot remove. Tickets is my array list. Tickets is my array list. All I'm saying is remove T. Closed ticket is an array list. I'm adding. It says you're adding a boolean value. Are you seeing something? Oh, maybe remove returns a boolean value. Oh, right. You could write, because add also returns a boolean value.
So just add the ticket, then remove it from the other one.
Yeah, two jobs, right? Yeah, then just add the ticket and then remove it from the other one. Yes, this is what it is saying, that there is a boolean value that is coming. And I'm thinking, how is it boolean? Remove method must be returning a boolean value. Add returns boolean. I'm sure of that. Okay, so then all you have to do is take it away from here. Put the T here. And do this here, there. More work, but at least logically, right? If I don't need that if, now I don't need that if there, and I don't need that if here, because I will never find it. I'll never find it. So we've done this. We've kind of, because it makes sense. So I'm archiving my old tickets. So tickets that have been closed are archived and put it into another table. For me, it is another array list, and I call that array list closed tickets. So you add and you, for your information, just because it has come up, here is a method add and here is a method remove that returns a boolean value, but I'm not doing anything with it. I'm not storing it. I'm not using it. So sometimes you can ignore the return values just because you don't need to. So they can be ignored, though, of course, don't just ignore them all the time. It depends upon, if you don't save the return value, you can't use it. But here it was okay for me. It did occur to me. Okay, so we are good. So I'll kind of leave my comments for, I don't know, I've kind of, if there is no ticket by or the ticket is already closed, you'll have to kind of take care of it. which is okay, but I mean,
Want those tickets to be a whole other object.
it is a whole other object. Here, it is a whole other object.
Methods to call and all that.
Oh, stop it. No, don't make me do more work now. Then there could be many methods on it. All tickets closed on this day. How many number of tickets? Yeah, leave it alone. We just try to find a good solution. We don't want to increase it. And again, this is not the end of it. I mean, you could do much more. All I've done is I've updated a ticket, I've closed the ticket, I've found a ticket. Those are, and I've created a ticket. But there could be much more. How many tickets are open? How many tickets are closed? What are the total numbers? Like, I could ask as many questions I could, and I have to add methods.
So when it's adding the closed tickets, it's adding the ticket to the closed
Close
ticket,
ones,
right?
yeah.
That means it's in both, so you're going
You have
to
to
do
do
the copy of it?
Yeah. Basically, what happens with objects is a copy is not made. All that is happening is this address is removed from this array list but added to this array. The object only stays at one place. Reference variables work this way. In value variables, values are copied. So when you say add something, this is sitting somewhere in memory. That address is added to the array list. An array list is just a list of addresses for your information. It's not a list of values. When you create an array list, it is actually just pointing to addresses where your objects are being saved. That's what it is. So when you remove it, so it's and that object is sitting somewhere. So suppose this is a ticket that is being closed. So when you say add here and you remove from here, you're actually making a pointer go here, and the pointer that was previously going here has been removed. So copies are never made of references objects. It's just address change, manipulation of addresses. If it was a variable, like an int variable, and then you would say, then it would make a copy. Then it would make a copy. But array lists don't work with, they only work with objects. Okay, but yeah, in a way, that's what happens. It's removed from here and it's added there. But copies are not made. All that is done is manipulation of addresses. Yes.
We are not adding it somewhere, we are just moving it, then the object will stay, but the
Garbage collector will collect it after some time. Java has an automatic garbage collector. It's something that automatically runs, and it will collect anything that doesn't have a reference. So the object is sitting, but nobody is pointing to it. It will be taken by the garbage collector. Ultimately, you don't have to clean it. At least garbage collection is automatic in Java. In C++, it used to create problems. I remember we had to do it. You could call it
yourself.
Yeah, you have to do it yourself. It's still the same. I haven't done it for it to follow.
They might have automation now, but yeah, you
Yeah,
have to like watch your pointers.
Exactly, you have to watch your pointers because you have pointers and all that in C++ coming from C. But in Java, you don't have to bother. So when you remove something, it's not that physically it's removed. It sits in the memory, but in due course, the Java collector will come and say, oh, there is something sitting that has no reference to it. It will take it away. The memory will be reallocated. So you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. Yeah. So I've kind of gone the easy way, but again, I leave it to you. I mean, because we are discussing it, hopefully, you know, I have not changed messages or whatever. And lastly, what I've done for you, I've created a tester. Right? In the tester, keep in mind now, keep in mind, this is your application. So you just can't say, oh, I'll throw it further. You should be now putting try catch marks. An application will always have try catch marks so that you can print out messages in a nice manner. So that it aborts like gracefully. It will abort if you make a mistake. If I try to make a mistake, it will abort, it will stop working, but it does it gracefully. It's called graceful, termination. Instead of seeing all those JVM's messages that come in a whole stack, which you can also show for your information. That's what programmers do. There's a method called, like you get message, there is a method called print stack or something. You can show that stack. Why does it help you? It says the error occurred here. It occurred because of here. It occurred because of here. So when you start programming, you do create a stack. You want to show it. But once you are done, to the user, you will never show those stacks on it. So notice how in the tester, I have written a try and notice my catches. I've written a catch for every exception that can occur in your program. So in email, I'll have a proper message. If my ticket is not closing, I'll have a proper message. So in update and so in. I've just written a general exception also, just in case. You'll always write a just in case. So I've got all my errors. And of course, this is running right now, but when I started it, I was checking things. For example, let's try to do this. Let's remove the @ from the email address. Now this should throw an email exception. Remember, because we said there should be an @. So if we save it and if we run it, Anju Chawla at this is not a valid email address. I haven't checked all of them, but I did check without an at and with things. I didn't check the dash. So it says a dash is allowed. So let's go Anju dash Chawla instead of a dot. I don't know. I've never used it, but I'm sure. If, oh, come on. You can try the dash if you want. Oh, it's wrong place. Chawla at Georgian College. So I've added a few things here, and of course 2 ads will also not work. All that has been tested, but I don't know. This should work according to our email address. Oh, so what is that dash doing? Then dash has a different meaning. That means this is giving an invalid address. Dash has to have something else. I thought I didn't see a dash, but that's what it is saying. Anju dash Chawla is invalid. Is everything else okay? Chawla at Georgian College, yeah. So we'll have to look up dash then. It's not a character that is being used then. Is this working? This should work now, right? Oh. You know what? It was happening yesterday too. I just have to clean and build every time. I have no clue why. I think it gets tired after some time. Yeah, so okay, so dash isn't working for sure. So dash does need to be a different thing. Clean and build project. Okay, what's happening now? Why is Anju? Oh, dot is not present. Oops. But that is valid. Dot is not necessary in an email address. No, it's not. Run, clean and build the project. Okay, now try it again. Oh, so dot is required, which is strange. I mean, no, it's not. I have an email address that doesn't have a dot. So that regular expression is saying dot is, you have to put a dot. Is everything else okay? Anju Chawla, yeah, there is an at, and unless there is a, no, it looks right. Is it something that my system is doing again? And it was really bad yesterday. I couldn't run programs. Let's save this. Yeah, you see, yeah, I don't know, because I'm having this problem. I was having it yesterday too. I have to build it up every time I do it. And why would that be? I don't know. Okay, now it's saying it's not a valid address. So I have made either a mistake or something is not right. Do I have an extra blank here? No, I don't. Delete? No, I don't. What's going on? What is going on? Okay, so run, clean and build project is the only thing I can do. I can't do anything anyway. Do I have some problem here? Guys, you try to run it, please. It's giving the same problem with at dot also. See if any other address is invalid. Maybe, no, it's telling me my address is invalid. Okay, so something wrong in our email then. Go back to your email, please. Ticket, trouble ticket. Let's look at the email update we did. Something is wrong here then. Okay, I'll have to check my string regular expression, please. Give me a minute. Must be some mistake for sure. Double quotes, A to Z makes sense. A to Z makes sense. 0 to 9. A plus, an underscore, a dot, and close your square brackets. At the rate. Oh, there it is. Oops. One or more occurrences. There, that's missing. It has to be something, right? So that was missing. Okay, now try again. And so I just removed it without even checking if the correct one was working. Okay, so that was missing. Therefore, it didn't work. Let's try again now. It should run now. There. Okay, it's running now. Now start making changes and see if when it works, when it won't. Okay. So now update a trouble ticket. I'm trying to now. There are a few silly things. Jared did that. Okay. But anyway, there are few tickets that I've added. Fred has added. Flintstone has one. Barney Rubble has another. Bam Bam Rubble has another. And we're trying to look. So here it is. I'm updating the ticket. Number 3. You can test your closing ticket. You can try. I mean, what will happen is if I try to do it, it will throw exceptions. So therefore, I tried and then I've commented it. So now it will throw an exception. 5 does not exist. Here, sorry, 5 does not exist. Closure cancelled. Okay. All it says is already closed. Remember that message is wrong now because we've changed it, but I changed it. So it won't work. So all you have to do is now test it. Can you close a ticket 2? Yes, we can, because ticket 2 exists. You can try to find a ticket that does not exist. So I have 2, no, sorry, those are severities. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Try to look for 5 or 6. It will come up. All exceptions, as you've done, will be thrown. Right? So I just made a very rough one, but then I closed a ticket. I updated a ticket. I didn't created a ticket, but I didn't do a find ticket. But find ticket indirectly is being called in here, so it's kind of testing. Right? So again, if you would like to go back to your email exceptions or to your and kind of update them, we can, or is closed, we can just kind of change it because we've changed our logic. So this one will say update cancel now. So you just have, I mean, when you make changes, you have to take care that they make changes. Before I put it, I'll do this, but it's just closure cancel. That one is okay now. And then in your ticket ones, we'll just have to say when it is not a problem. So your throws clause will change. So we have moved our closed tickets to a different array list. Of course, as William pointed out, this is not complete. I could do many more things here, but I did the minimum. I am able to close a ticket. I'm able to update a ticket. I'm able to find a ticket number, and of course, I'm able to create it. That's not only that happens, but at least it's a minimum. I could be asking many more questions of this ticketing system. Tickets that were closed on a particular day. Tickets that have been open for more than 5 days now. Like there's so many things. What will you do? How to find out 5 days now? You take today's date, subtract the date on which it was created, and then see if it is more than 5. But, I mean, many questions can be asked. Tickets that were created on July 10th. Like you could be specific and do many things. Right. So again, it is very similar to product at stock, but also very different. We've used new classes here. We've kind of created more exception classes, but we've also used local date time and so on. And that's not the end of it. Again, I've only used one method. There were so many methods, right? So again, as I say, I can't teach you everything, but I can at least guide you. You have an idea now. You know what regular expressions are. So at least in future, if you need them, you need them. Okay. That takes care of what I had to teach today. So I'll put this back on Blackboard for you. Okay. So we are done for today. I'm hoping that I can take a break from this regular. It's not break. It's just I would like to do my inheritance now, and then if time permits, come back to do more examples. Right? Because that's the only main topic that is left. I've done testing. I've kind of done exception handling with you. I've done it over the thing, and I've covered all my course contents except inheritance and polymorphism. So I'll devote time to it first. It will take maybe a week, a couple of weeks, and then I'll come back and do more with you. Maybe hash map or something else.
Do we do threads or?
No, we don't do threads in this class. No, it's an advanced course. It's an advanced topic.
Or event handling.
Event handling and everything goes in GUI. The next one. For me, this is just polymorphism and inheritance. Otherwise, I kind of covered everything that I needed. Unit testing I have to do, which was you hadn't done it, and of course all classes and everything. Right. So I'll try to go there and then come back if time permits. Okay. Okay. So we are done for today. And again, I'm again mentioning it, guys. The assignment that I've given you is easy. Just do it. You can get 100% marks. Write your comments. All comments that I'm asking from you is your name, date, and purpose at the top, and every test method has a comment. This method is testing this. That's all. Right? And then a print in every statement so that I can see, oh, this has been tested, this has been tested. As long as it is clear, you can put full sentences, testing the ID call. You can write it, or you can just give me a name that will make sense. Don't call it ABC and it's saying printing ABC and I'm saying what is ABC. Like I've used proper names, you use them. So and it's sort of, you don't even have to do it. The system out println is written there. All you have to do is just change the name when you're checking more than one thing. Divide by 0 or less than 0 or more than 0. So those are, if you see greens in your JCOOK average, all greens, you can almost assume you're going to get 100%. So its weightage will not be big, just 5%, but it's easy 5%. Maybe it can go up a little, depending upon what is your last assignment. Okay, but 5 is minimum. I'm saying 5 for sure. And it's It's 5 easy marks. But if you are doing the unit testing, okay? Okay, so we are done for today. Let me put this on Blackboard for you. So what is it today? Thursday.
This is why I didn't use the set or get face values, because the face value could go up to 14.
And then you could, but you can always change
But I
these
could have
classes.
just, yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't,
But
because I was in the mindset of this needs to get
remember
done.
I said, yeah, but that's better
Still
than
right. You're still-
definitely.
I know I'm wrong.
No, it's not wrong. It's just that you shouldn't be writing, you should be writing good code is what I say, right? Because it's very important. Yes.
I found an error with the regular exception. It's allowing 2 @ symbols.
Because I put a plus at now,
Right.
right? So we have to think, if I only want one occurrence, what do I want?
Right.
Because I did a plus, it says 1 or more occurrences are allowed.
Right.
Right.
Okay, but for an email, you can't do that.
You can, I don't know. So I have to
It's
check
just
up.
It's
Kind of, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think you can have more than 1 at symbols. So I'll have to exactly look for, you can only put one at in it, right?
because it has to be
At or something, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can, I've never heard it. But when I said a plus at, that means you can put more than
But
one.
that allows a dash and
And that allows a dash. Dash is different, but that's okay. But at are always one. Have you seen an email address with 2 ats? I don't think so. So I have to then look up that instead of a plus at, because I added a plus. Plus means you can have 1 or more occurrences.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want. Oh no, this plus is, oh, the plus comes afterwards. This plus says these can occur more than 1 times. So the at should only, this should only occur once. Is it occurring more than once?
Yeah, I put
Oh.
Anju at Chawla and it actually says.
So you said Anju at Chawla at Georgian College?
Yeah, and it's
That shouldn't work. Okay, let me see. So yeah, because this plus, if I remember, Brian was saying plus says 1 or more. No, it's before or after? No, after. So this should only occur once. Let's see. Now that's not good at all. So I'll zip this up for you and then put it on Blackboard for you guys so that you have it, okay? Okay, there it is. Oh, it shouldn't. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Right? Okay, okay, that's. Oh, I didn't want you to start it. I thought it was open. Don't worry. It's okay. But it shouldn't by the regular expression. I gave you your sheet back. Okay, so go through it and see if there is anything that you're not satisfied with or anything that I've misinterpreted, and come back if you have any questions, okay? An invalid exception, right? Yeah, let's see. Yep. So plus says any of 1 or more occurrences, and then it says add must only occur once, right? Yeah, then it would be, yeah, then it would do it, yeah. Here it says. Does the bracket have any meaning? Where did you open up that site where you were looking at symbols? There has to be something wrong.
Does it say something about decimal as well?
About?
It said something about decimal?
Oh, about the period?
Yeah.
Okay. I forget now. I mean, because, and I didn't pay much attention because I was copying it from the internet. See how lazy you get. Oh, excuse me. Does it say anything about the opening bracket? Because after that we have an opening bracket. For example, this matches 10 and I want to name. But it has been escaped. You see it has a slash, so it has been escaped. Otherwise, the decimal means a decimal. Right? You shouldn't allow more than one ads. And by that regular expression, it doesn't seem. So when you put a plus, it's working on what's really encoded, right? They are preceding, right? Yeah, one more time. Because one act means only one act. By any chance you have a blind right, curly bracket. What, did you find any round brackets? Well, leave that round. Doesn't matter. So leave that round. But put the add in a curly bracket. Because maybe there is some meaning of brackets, I don't know. I thought it will only occur once was my thinking. That means my thinking is wrong.